It's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated. Folks, get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this micro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show. Hey, yo, what up, friends? Welcome back to Ball and Buds. I know it feels like it's only been 5 minutes, and that's because it has. You just saw me on 5 minutes ago. So, that being said, welcome to everybody who was watching me on my solo show, The Professor Seminalmente, featuring Hot Take Jake. Shout out to my brother. We will be having Total Evisceration starting next Tuesday, the 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be Hot Take Jake and myself yelling at each other over a bunch of sports and culture topics. So it should be a fun time. That being said, I am joined by some wonderful guests from here this evening. As always, bringing you the best basketball knowledge. First off, with me pretty much on all the basketball shows. Actually, two of y'all are perennial with me here. Bobby G from Audible Sports, the Audible podcast on YouTube. Shout out my brother. Go ahead and give all your channels, my friend.
You said it, man. Audible Sports Podcast on YouTube. Also, Game Time 216. Me and Big Mike from the Man Cave with all Cleveland sports. And yeah, you can catch us on YouTube, and I think it's right there on the screen. My socials at Audible_Bobby G on X, Instagram, and sometimes Facebook. Even though I hate
it. Even though you're never on Facebook.
I'm never on Facebook.
And down on the bottom left below me, Jay from Unfair Sports. Look, man, I got to give a shout out to Jay because when I first, and I will always tell this story because I'm forever grateful to him. When I first started out my podcasting journey, I went on Facebook groups and posted to anybody. I was like, hey, I want somebody to give me some feedback on my first episode. It was on Hank Aaron. I was like, someone give me some feedback. Let me know, how you feel about this. And no one responded except Jay. And Jay took 20 minutes out of his day to listen to some nobody's podcast and give me legit feedback, and has stayed in contact with me and blessed me with his presence on my show. I am much appreciated and humbled and grateful, Jay, my brother.
No, I appreciate you having me, man. Looking forward to talking some ball. It's been a bit.
Yeah, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me here on YouTube at Unfair Sports. We talk OU football, SEC, and college football in general. Find me at Locked On Sooners, part of Locked On Podcast Network. And my other channel for Colorado is the Primetime CFB here on YouTube. So, yeah, I'm everywhere. Always working.
Oh, you're doing a little Dion Primetime now, huh?
Yeah, I got a pretty good big channel over there, man. Be talking Prime and Colorado with a couple buddies. So, all over the place. Keeps me busy. Keeps me out of trouble. Let's put it that way.
I got to subscribe to that one. There we go. And finally, last but not least, he was on our last NBA show, newcomer to the Ball and Buzz roster, but nonetheless very, very knowledgeable and expert at the game of basketball. We may even be blessed by his partner Warren Shaw later, but this is Cal Lee from the Baseline NBA podcast. Thank you, my brother, for coming on.
As always, the professor, you know what I'm saying? Whenever you make the call, I'm ready to, do that overnight studying, right? Like cram session.
That cram session.
Yeah, man. But
next time I know to hit you up on email, though, because I was reaching out by Twitter and by Instagram, and I wasn't sure. So next time I'll let you know by email way ahead of time.
Yeah, like Bobby G is like no Facebook. I'm like no Twitter. Okay. But yeah, man. Again, I'm just honored. Privileged to have an opportunity to chop it up with you guys. I had a great time with y'all last time, Jay. My first time rocking with you. So, I know this is going to be a blast. And yeah, man, the show is the Baseline NBA podcast, available on all the major platforms, part of the 19 Media Group family. So you can go to 19 Media Group on your YouTube channel. If you're not catching us here on the Ball and Buds, you can also catch this episode on the 19 Media Group channel. So, we wired and LinkedIn, locked in, right? But if you ever want to tap in and get at me, man, at GameFace Lee on the Twitter side, Game Facely on the Instagram handles as well too, man. So ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, no, please, everybody tap in with these gentlemen and their content and their channels, because honestly, when we work together at this streaming game, that's how it best goes. Because if you subscribe to one of ours and you subscribe to all of ours and you start liking the videos, that's when more people can find the great content that we're all trying to serve up. So again, really appreciate everybody here. Let's kick this bad boy off. All right, well, first half of the season is in the books. We talked a little bit last time, gentlemen, about we talked a lot last time about the Thunder. We talked about if they were going to be able to hold on. This was after the first 20 games of the season. So we talked about, would they be able to, even win 73 games at that point we talked about. Now we know the Thunder lost a little bit of luster this year, and also San Antonio has their number a little bit there. But they are at 42-14, technically leading the league in record, but Detroit leads in winning percentage, I believe is what it was yesterday. But anyways, so that's the top two there in terms of teams at the top. Other than that, we also had the All-Star game this past weekend. A lot of consternation about past All-Star games and the competitive and thereof. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But first of all, gentlemen, let's just start with some first half thoughts. Give me your best first half storyline. Bobby G, let's start with you.
Just the streak of disappointment. I know coming into the season, a lot of people thought the Eastern Conference is wide open. It still is wide open, but I think a lot of people are surprised by the way the quote unquote big three would have been playing. You figured Detroit, Cleveland, and New York had a leg up on everybody, but the way they've been playing, that just hasn't been the case. Like, to the point where a hobbled Boston Celtics team is still the 2 seed, and they don't even have their best player, who, oh, by the way, may be back for the playoffs.
Let's go, JT.
So that would be, and especially me being, a Cavs fan, highly disappointed in the start to the season. So that's probably my biggest storyline, outside of clearly the Spurs being more ready than most people thought they were. I think most people had them as a dark horse. But
well, when you see the hat that I have on, once you have a superstar, a bona fide, I know you don't like it, Bobby G, a bona fide number one like Jaylen Brown. And then you bring back, I don't want to hear what I didn't ask what your opinion was on Jaylen Brown. All right. When you bring a number one like Tatum and you put him with a number one like Brown, you got JT and JB, championship, baby.
Same Jaylen Brown that went 4 for 20 and got beat by 30 by Detroit. It
was an all-star game.
Oh, I'm talking about Detroit.
Oh, the one against Detroit. Yeah. Detroit has had our number this year. Talk about that. Cal, what was your first half storyline?
I'm actually more surprised at how well the Detroit Pistons are playing. Look, I did have them pegged as being one of the top teams in the Western Conference, but to be right now with maybe a quarter of games left to play, maybe 30% left of the games left to play in the regular season, they arguably can walk away being the number one seed, which will allow them an opportunity to get out of the first round and then really have to deal with probably the teams that may kind of cause them problems in the 7-game series. But the one thing that I think really stands out more than anything is what you mentioned before about the San Antonio Spurs elevating themselves to probably being contenders to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The only question is will they have the experience? Will they have the ability to perform at a high level in a 7-game series against a team as formidable as them? But by all accounts, from a talent perspective, they can be better than the Lakers. They can be better than the Timberwolves. They can be better than the Nuggets. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a matter of whether or not they can mature themselves enough through the remainder of the games, position themselves well, and take advantage of having home court advantage. And that's the same questions you're going to probably ask about a team like the Detroit Pistons. Teams like the Knicks, teams like the Cavaliers, teams like the Nuggets, teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves, we're talking about them in the same breath as saying, okay, they're going to be fine when they get to the playoffs. But you can clearly see that each of those teams are severely flawed. And even when they go through their streaks and they look like, world beaters for maybe a stretch of 2-3 weeks, they run into some buzzsaw competition, and suddenly we have to come back to that same question: are they good enough to get to the end? So, that's why it's all wide open. Teams like the Sixers and teams like the Celtics, who each of these teams respectively should be on down years, suddenly have injected themselves into the conversation. So I'm just utterly it's completely wide open, both the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. But I think the biggest surprise for me right now is the Detroit Pistons and the level of physicality and how they're playing. I think they're a team that's not to be reckoned with, as long as they maintain the way that and the style that they play and get better as they get towards the end of the regular season. If they do that, they could probably find themselves playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, which I don't think anybody expected.
Yeah, I mean, no one expected that, and having a slightly higher than 750 winning percentage is pretty tremendous for a young team like that. Like you said, just like San Antonio, right? Young. They got De'Aaron Fox, more experience, but when the playoffs, Jay, that's when it really matters, because even though the Thunder is a fairly young team, and you would know, being our expert Thunder whatever content, I don't know, everything, fan, everything. What do you think about your Thunder, and what do you think about the Spurs possibly having their number, and also what your top storyline?
Yeah, so on the Spurs having their number, I think that's funny, because honestly, I don't know if Oklahoma City really plays them that hard. Like, I don't know if they actually care when they play in that game as much. Now, granted, I'll say this: Wemby and Chet definitely care when they play. Wemby and Chet, when they match up against each other, they care, because those two hate each other. That's like an old school grudge.
Oh, I love
that's
that,
like an old school Isaiah Thomas, I hate Michael Jordan type grudge. Like, they despise each other in a way that I want to know the backstory. No one knows the backstory on this, because no one's been able to share it. But man, it must be just Wemby walked in and say, "Hey, wait, there's another skinny dude that thinks he can ball like me? Nah, we ain't having that." Like, it's like skinny on skinny beef nonstop between those two. It cracks me up every time I see it. Because Wemby talks about he don't like him. He want to go out there and he want to kill him. And I'm just like, dang, that's some gangster stuff right there. Yeah. I love it. I love the competitiveness of Wembanyama, right? But from there, though, I don't know about them truly having their number, because even last season, Minnesota was like, I think 3-1 against the Thunder in the regular season. And everybody told me Minnesota was going to be able to run through and dominate them when we got to the playoffs. And then what did Oklahoma City do? They went belt to ass and went ahead and closed that series out. So, I mean, I'm sitting there in the stands watching it. So I'm like, dang, are we really up 30 right now against Anthony Edwards and a team that everyone told me was going to give OKC hell? Well, looks like they didn't. And that's the one thing about the Thunder that I think that's impressed me the most is, even as unhealthy as they've been, they've still been able to come out here at 42-14, just like last season. Dove hasn't played most of it. I think he's missed 30 games so far. He ain't played most of the season. Chet missed a little bit of time. Hartenstein's missed some time again. That was similar that you saw last year, where they finished the year with 67 wins. You're like, dang, that's impressive that they're able to lock in like this, even with all these injuries in play. Now that Shea's out, we'll see. He should be back now post All-Star break, but to me, they'll lock in later. They won't see the Spurs again until the playoffs. And the question is, what will the Spurs look like at that time? Wemby's still on a minutes restriction, so we don't know what they look like. But storyline-wise, I love y'all storylines. Y'all hit some very good points. Honestly, mine's is going to go a little different angle on this one. I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the Orlando Magic. So they made that trade over the summer for Desmond Bane. And all of us was like, that's a pretty solid move. It should help Paolo Banchero be able to go out there and really do. Wait, Paolo's only averaging 21.3 a game? Franz Wagner is also averaging 21.3. Okay, so wait, they're 7th in the East at 28-25, as mentioned. You've got injuries that's hurting everybody in the East. Well, Boston, for some reason, can just overcome theirs. Indiana can't. But Orlando still can't figure it out. I don't understand it. This feels like the biggest disappointment in the trade over the summer. Of all the trades of the summer, this has got to be the biggest disappointment, because I know they weren't expecting number 7 seed. They was expecting at least a top 4. And yeah, this is not this ain't the business at all.
Yes, no, that's a great point, because you're right. All of us did hype up that trade in the offseason. I remember everybody was.
It was good.
It should have been. It should have been. It should have worked out.
Can I throw something out real quick to what
Please,
Jay
no,
about?
you're very great.
Jay, I agree. I completely agree with you. I don't know if whether or not I'm going to put this as much on the trade as I'm putting this as much on both Wagner and Banchero have taken a step back this year. And
see it.
And because if you'd have told me what was preventing the Orlando Magic from being as competitive to the top tier teams last year, because remember the Celtics had to go 6 with them, right?
Yep.
Is the fact that they did not have perimeter shooting. They can't shoot the 3. And if they thought that the only way that they were going to like the sole reason, right? Okay, just give me Desmond Bane. Okay, well, Jalen Suggs, he's been good, but he hasn't necessarily been great. And then, obviously he stays injured, right? And you have to still wonder, is he a true point guard now for that type of talent that you have? I'm putting this, I'm not saying I'm blaming, but I'm putting this on Mosley, and I'm putting this on how the Magic came to this conclusion about addressing the things that obviously did not allow them to advance further to where they are, where they need to be. Because even now, you could have made the argument for a team that's in 7th place, there was still something you could have done by the trade deadline to improve this team offensively that is obviously still lacking from why you made that trade for Desmond Bane, and they didn't address it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, again, it's really odd, but I'm actually putting more emphasis on Bane. I'm not sorry, Bane, but I'm putting more emphasis on Banchero because I don't know what's going on with Banchero. I saw this from the beginning of the year. As a matter of fact, the Magic would actually have a worse record if Desmond Bane wasn't as offensively aggressive as he's been for the Magic because of the disappearance to Banchero. He is nothing near or close to. I don't know if he's masking an injury or something happened, but he is definitely not playing like the person that I saw the second half of the season that everybody walking in preseason was saying he could possibly be an MVP candidate with the way that he was playing at the end of last season.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with you there. It does not. It just don't feel like. They just don't feel like there's just a complete team. Like you said, the thing they were missing was perimeter shooting, especially from the 3. They could not do anything. Desmond Bane comes in, he's shooting 37% from 3, not too shabby, right? But it ain't enough to get them dubs. It feels like, or it's not enough in the clutch moments. It's just. It's so tough in the NBA.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
It's so disappointing.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah. And Jay, just to give you a little clarity on your Chet Wemby thing, the first time they played was in 2021 in a Nike, was it World?
Yeah,
the
like
FIBA
high
World
schoolers.
Cup
Yeah.
Chet got MVP. Wemby had 32 blocks in the tournament.
They hate each other ever since, baby. I love it.
So
I love the beef.
You might be
there,
salty
dog.
about not getting that MVP.
Salty, just they knuckle up every time they see each other, dog. I love it. We don't get that very often. We don't get that type of just disdain. But that's also, he's a French fry, so you kind of get that from French folk. A little weird.
I love that. And I love another guest joining us right now from also the Baseline NBA podcast. Warren Shaw. Let me get him. Oh, what happened here? Where are we doing it? Oh, what happened? Oh, I see what's going on. We need the old Fiverr. Oh, I see. It didn't update it. Okay. Well, hold on. 1 second, Warren. I almost had you. Give me 1 second. I gotta fix this real quick.
He's a slippery fellow, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's my fault. Y'all go ahead and keep talking while I bring him in. Keep going.
But yeah, that's definitely funny to see the beef between those two, man. It warms my heart watching. I mean, Anthony Edwards is similar in the way that he plays on the court with an attitude of I want to cook everybody while at the same time being cool. I'm cool with y'all when we off the court or whatnot, but I want to destroy y'all. And you saw that in the All-Star game, which I was actually impressed in watching how competitive they were. But I was actually listening to Bomani Jones talk about this the other day, and the one thing he pointed out is that like everything began and ended with the competitiveness of that game was through Wemby, right? Like as much as I like to give props to our guy Anthony Edwards for also being pretty much a lunatic out there on the court too, Wemby was the one that forced it, mainly because he can go out there like you mentioned, Bobby. He had 33 swats in that Nike Elite, right? Yeah. Who wants to get their shot swatted in the All-Star game? Who wants to be embarrassed in public by everybody? And that's exactly what Wemby planned on doing the whole time. Like you saw Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was looking out over his shoulder the whole time, like where Wemby at?
But I don't know. I can't. I got to keep it 50-50. Like Wemby's attitude, because he had a mean mug, right? Because he got to show. Because he's Frenchman, he got to show. Like Ant-Man is killing you with a smile on his face, bro.
Yeah,
Like
true.
he hit you with this
He's cooking
crossover
with joy.
and laughing.
He's
at
cooking
you
with joy. I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, I gotta give it a 50-50. Like Wemby did it with the mug, Ant did it with the performance.
There you go. Hey, and we got joyful to have Warren Shaw joining us. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Man, apologies for my tardiness, but great to have a conversation with y'all boys. I've been trying to tune in on my drive back here as I was getting some food for the wife, but seems like you guys have it rocking and rolling, man. Really excited to join y'all.
Hey, no, we appreciate you coming on. You can as well find Warren at the NBA Baseline Podcast with Cowley, also 19 Media Group on YouTube as well. So y'all catch them gentlemen there. Amazing basketball talk. So Warren, we were just talking about our first half storylines, and we kind of got sidetracked on a few different themes there. One was the Thunder's lack of dominance, not getting that 73 wins we talked about before. Another was the Orlando Magic and their failures thus far, not living up to the promise of their four-headed monster. We also talked about I'm blanking on the other team now.
The Celtics, they're terrible.
The Celtics were covered. We didn't talk about them yet. Anyways, and by the way, there's 3 Celtics fans on this show, buddy, so you better calm down. The 2 gentlemen at the bottom are both Celtics fans as well. So, Warren, what was your first half storyline? Any thoughts on any of that? Oh, Detroit was the other team.
Yeah, I mean, I think to maybe make it a little bit different from what y'all have already discussed, I may be a little surprised. I don't know if it's a storyline, but it's kind of caught me off guard. I think it's the competency of the Sixers, especially with the way they started the season. Joel was looking like a hobble dude, like he was, head towards medical retirement. But what VJ Edgecombe has been able to do, in the first, he's obviously the 3rd candidate for Rookie of the Year. Nice. Tyrese continues to take another step in that. Nick Nurse has that team figuring it out, and it's kind of like patchwork, but they're there. And Cal and I talked on our show, was like, well, do we trust it? Like, should we trust it? And you want to be super skeptical. And I still am, but at the end of the day, if you were to tell me they somehow made a run in the Eastern Conference, if as long as Embiid is healthy, and I was kind of joking, kind of tongue in cheek. Paul George, the suspension, obviously, not for the greatest of reasons, but he gets to rest 25 more games and not due to injury. So he comes back.
Shocker, yeah.
Towards the end of the season, like the Sixers, to me, have a certain level of competency that I don't think any Eastern Conference team is like, yeah, I can't wait to sign up for that matchup if they get into the playoffs, because Embiid can be the most dominating player in a series. Like he can be, again, always the caveat if healthy. So that's been, I think, one of the bigger surprises for me this NBA season.
I mean, that's a very, very good point. And I mean, a lot of the talk is, can Embiid actually stay healthy enough, like you said, for that playoff run? And so in Philadelphia, they're really concerned if that's going to actually happen, because of the fact that, we just never know with him. We never know if he's going to be healthy any day of the week. And without the load management anymore, or at least trying to combat it, which we'll talk about later with like MVP awards, and Jokic having, if he misses one more, he's out of the MVP. So that's something that maybe needs to be discussed in terms of maybe forcing players to play when they shouldn't, although I don't think you should be playing for an award. But I do agree with you. Except the championship. But I do agree with you. I think that, they are a threat, or could be in the playoffs at full speed and healthy. But again, they would need everybody back, including Embiid and George, and obviously Maxey playing a high level. I do want to go back just because the Pistons are really what I keep coming back to. I mean, again, no one really thought that they were going to do this. And really the only major change was bringing in, which is a major change, bringing in JB Bickerstaff, installing some toughness and some defensive mentality into them. They have the best net rating in the East and second best in the NBA. They have the 5th best offensive rating in the East, 10th best in the NBA. They have the best defensive rating in the East and the second best in the NBA. So when you're looking at their team, they're very highly rated in all of the most important efficiency categories. And you talked about it earlier, Kyle, so we'll start with you here. You talked about how their lack of shooting and their three-point shooting is what would be their demise, if anything. Did you have more thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, this again, it comes down to, and this is just my personal belief. If you can get yourself right going into the playoffs offensively towards the end, but you already have your defensive principles intact,
Facts.
you increase your chances of getting to the finals. Okay. When we start to question whether or not a team is capable of stopping the other team is when you have to wonder, are they going to be good enough to get to their conference finals? We do this with the Cavaliers. We do this with the Knicks. We do this even with the Sixers.
This sounds like the Seattle Seahawks that just won the Super Bowl. That's what
right.
sounds like.
And I say this because last year we didn't have to worry about that when we were talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, because defensively, by the metrics, they were playing at a very high level defensively. The only question was whether or not they were going to get it together offensively. And you saw what the outcome of that became, right? It's hard to argue when you have the MVP of the league doing MVP-like things when your offense isn't working for you on a night-in, night-out basis. What you're seeing here with the Detroit, and here's where I'm correlating all of this. What you're seeing with the Detroit Pistons is you actually have a team that is defensive first, but they know and they feel like they have an MVP on their side with Cade Cunningham. And they feel like if he continues to take those steps, SGA-like type steps, because of his ability to score, his ability to elevate his teammates, get them in positions to score, they may feel like they can figure this out as they get closer to the playoffs. That could be a one leg up for a team like the Detroit Pistons. The one thing that will work against them, again, is the maturity aspect of it, because they haven't gotten that far. They haven't been able to get out of the first round. They're a team that wants to play like a team like the New York Knicks. On paper, the Knicks look like a better team. But if you have a team that plays with the physicality the Detroit Pistons have, and you start forcing the Knicks to play outside of what they're normally playing, that's when a team like the Pistons does what teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder do, right? So that's the reason why I'm like really surprised, because I think when we were talking about this before, Shaw had mentioned this about the Sixers, about whether or not we believe it's real or it's fake. The reason why we feel like, oh, it could be very much real is because in the playoffs, the greatest matchup nightmare for any of the teams in the Eastern Conference is anyone who has to play against Joel Embiid if he's 100%. He is arguably the best player and the best matchup nightmare against anyone, because they can't stop him when he's on it. But when he's hobbled, he's not 100%. You get what I'm saying? But the only team that could probably give him problems would be a team like the Detroit Pistons, because up and down that lineup, they have players that can offer the physicality to wear a guy like Joel Embiid out, wear a guy like Karl Anthony Towns out. You know what I'm saying? None of the other teams really have that. And so to me, to see that kind of ascension from the Detroit Pistons, I'm saying that should be like 2 years down the road, and they're already doing it a year removed from what they showed you last year.
And that's
Cal, do me a favor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cal, close your eyes.
I'm trying
to. Really picture the Detroit Pistons. Really picture them. Now open your eyes and tell me what you really see.
I see a team that's going to be a problem for everybody. Period.
I see the Cleveland Cavaliers 3 seasons ago. JB Bickerstaff, we were in the exact same position. We were the exact same team. We were tough. We got 2 guys down there that could do, they could take this, they could do everything. And when we get to the playoffs, JB Bickerstaff turns into a pumpkin. I'm not worried about the roster. I'm worried about the sideline in Detroit.
So you're worried about the guy calling the shots?
Yeah. His problem ain't getting it. We at the exact same position. We were in the play-in. Then we went from the play-in, we went to end. Then we went from end to we went top 4 in the East. Exact same path as the Pistons. They're just the Cavs from 3 years ago. So I can't be a believer in JB until I see it in the postseason.
I'm cracking up.
I'm gonna hold you to that, Bobby. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Hey,
okay.
I'm gonna hold JB to that.
We gonna circle back around, come towards the playoffs, if and when that should happen or occur. I think though you learn from your mistakes at some point, because to your point, if it doesn't happen with this roster that he's working with, then it's just never going to happen with JB Bickerstaff. And listen, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this because Sean knows, because we actually were fortunate enough to have him on the show and be able to talk with him and get an understanding of his coaching style and what his belief is and what he sees his lens and things of that nature. And that's removed from the experiences he's already been to. And I think going through what he went through in Cleveland has allowed him to understand where he has to, again, make those type of adjustments. And it's hard to do it when you're working with a roster that may look like they may be good or great, and then you're trying to make them even be better than that, and they don't live up to it. It's a completely different scenario and situation where you're working basically ground up with these guys. And I think the Pistons understand that. And where to your point, it's going to be on Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, and those guys, Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris. They got to make JB Bickerstaff better, right? Like, they got to go out and execute at that level. And we'll see if whether or not that does or doesn't happen. Because to your point, if the Cleveland Cavaliers were the type of team that JB Bickerstaff had access to that are similar, then there's no question they should be able to at least get to the conference finals. So if they're not doing it, I'm wondering if part of that also is whether or not those guys really want it that badly. Because, and I'm not going to try to put it on your Cavs, but we're going to be asking the same question about the Cavaliers and Atkinson 2 years removed. And you just made a big trade in getting a guy like James Harden, who I think is a mercurial talent, but to me is doubling down exactly on what the Cavs believe is going to be necessary for them to even hang with the way that the teams are set up in the Eastern Conference right now to give them the best advantage and the pathway forward for them to get to the conference finals.
Absolutely.
That's tremendous analysis. I was cracking up because when you were like, close your eyes and tell me what you see. You remember Cool Runnings?
Oh, I was going more for what's my guy? All right.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, hey, picture a little girl.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
No, I was like, no, that's not good right now. That's not good right now. We don't do that.
This is not the climate to be picturing little girls, bro. No, this is not.
Not with the FC.
Yeah, we'll just gloss past that and pretend like we didn't hear anything.
I see a bad mother sucker that won't give up nothing. Anyways, but for real, look, the Pistons, just to kind of give some more context to this, here's some more sports professor stats: 17-6 against 500 or better teams, 29-3 in clutch games, 18-3 in games decided by double digits. So if they can get a lead on you and at least hold that lead, they can usually win in the clutch as well. But again, I think the three-pointer is going to hurt them come playoff time. They're great in the post, really good at offensive rebounding. But I really do think that will come back to bite them, not being able to have a consistent three-point threat. Anybody else?
I can see it.
I'll just say, I mean, they added Herter, and I don't know how much one guy can do and how many minutes he's going to play, but that's their answer to that. And they didn't want to make a bigger move at the deadline, as many people say, hey, you need to go get MPJ, you need to go get Lauri Markkanen or whatever. And those are high price guys, and then could also disrupt what appears to be a really solid locker room, I think, at this stage, right? Like, this group has kind of a collegial feel, so to speak. Cade is playing the best basketball of his career, his young career, but best offensive rating, but also his best defensive rating. I know, like, whatever you say about the All-Star game, he blocked some shots. I was like, all right, Cade. Like, so even in that, like, he's competitive in a way that not a lot of people are giving him the immense level of credit for.
That's big facts.
But I do think, what they're hoping to get from Herter is that answer to that. Like, can we get the three-point shooting on the cheap? And we'll see if they cheap themselves out of an NBA championship by not going and getting somebody that was a little bit more established.
Well, look, you're not going to hear. Hold on. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, no. Go ahead. You good?
No. I was just going to make a quip about my alma mater, so you can go ahead. I wasn't going to add anything of value. So go ahead.
No. I'll just piggyback on that, man. You know what? Nah, I'm good. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to even think about the Pistons as far as I think Bobby pointed out. Well, they look like the Cavs last year. Cavs was dominant. They were beating the crap out of everybody. And then when it got to the most important part of the year, they disappeared. Like, I was wondering if my Thunder was going to be that way. What was that 2 years ago after, they got knocked off by Dallas? I was like, all right, are we going to be the team that gets the 1 seed, cooks most of the season, and then get in the playoffs and just fizzle away? And the fact that they were able to get that 1 seed, being as injured as they were most of the season, right? Hartenstein comes, you sign him as a free agent, and he loses about 40 games. It feels like, at least. So it was about 30 or something. But he hurt his thumb. He's out. Chet's gone 50. And you're like, all right, well, this shouldn't happen. But then they put up all the numbers and they play such a good, deep, unselfish brand of ball, even with Shea still leading things. They still get that. And you're like, all right, when then the playoffs hit, they actually show up and show out. And so, like, I'm wanting to see if the Pistons can do that themselves. If with the way the team is playing, if they can just maintain that ball all the way to the playoffs and then give me something past the second round. Like, first round, you better beat the 8 seed, right? Especially if you get that number 1. Who's the 8 seed right now in the NBA? Let me see. I had it
right now. It's
up
the Heat.
just now. Be the Heat.
Yep.
That's terrifying, right? I mean, what's playing? You still got the Hawks as well as the Hornets, who, by the way, the Hornets are very fun to watch right now.
Low key.
And I don't know
As the
how
kids would
they did that, but I'm actually impressed that the minute that Michael Jordan basically sells a majority share, the team is fun to watch again. I need them to figure out a way to keep that up, though. That's kind of be the most important thing. But besides that, the Pistons should still be able to take that first round. That next round is going to be the question. Can they get past the Cavs right now? Would they be able to get past the Raptors? Cavs picking up James Harden to add with Donovan Mitchell. It's an interesting combo, but can they maintain that spot and then also get past the second round? That is, to me, the biggest thing for the Pistons. Is I need to see what they look like after the second round of the playoffs. If they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they got a chance to make it to the finals.
Okay. And I'll never be one to, as a Celtics fan, my favorite player ever was Larry Bird. Doesn't mean you have to be Larry Bird if you're a Celtics fan. I'm just saying. So I will never be upset at a random shot at Michael Jordan. But I don't think MJ deserved that random shot you just gave him as he won.
Deserved a straight. What are you talking about?
I mean, he just won the Daytona 500.
So, hey, I'm proud of him. That's dope. He got that Daytona 500, and his Charlotte Hornets have sucked the entire time he's on them.
No, but you're right. Con Kneppel is added to that team. Go ahead. Yeah,
I was saying,
anybody
Bob,
can jump in.
Bob,
no, I was just gonna hop in real quick. Remember the preseason show? I told y'all about Con Kneppel.
Con Kneppel, you did.
What's his middle name? Does anybody know?
Man.
It better not be something crazy. I don't know. Let me see.
Con Kneppel.
What were you gonna say, Cal?
I was just gonna tell you that if this now doesn't,
I like that.
If this doesn't emphatically tell you that the mystique of Michael Jordan, right? You know how, like, we talk about the greatness of Michael Jordan and how he, revolutionized the business of basketball and everything like that. There are some people, even within their greatness, I don't think there were certain aspects to the game of basketball that I think he appreciated and enjoyed. It brought him a lot of what he has, but you can clearly tell that he did not want to be a part of that. I think he felt like he had to be a part of it. It felt natural to him with the way that he's wired and he's built, but that never brought him joy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think him owning the Hornets ever brought him joy. I think it was a part of something that is attached to the legacy of Jumpman 23, Jordan Brand, and everything like that. Then he goes and he invests in NASCAR. These are like, you know what I'm saying? If he were to go and invest in golf with Tiger Woods, you'd see joy in his face. You'd probably see him being more involved and more in tune to things. And guess what? That is okay. That is okay. You know what I mean? Like, we can always be in a space where we don't have to absolutely love something just because we're in it. You know what I mean? And I mean, we'll talk about that because I know we're going to talk about the All-Star weekend.
It's a great segue.
But that, to me, is part of the conversations that people tend to have, and it's just so easy to just lump a person in there that if something fails, it meant like, oh, they were never good at that, or they should have never been good at it. They tried it, it didn't work, and as long as they come to grips with that, I'm fine with them walking away from it and doing things that is more in what they're aligned with, more than what they're passionate about. Same thing with Derek Jeter. Remember Brad Daugherty? You know what I'm saying? Great center.
Yep.
But, when you get to a certain point, you've given everything you've had to the sport. Now you can go put your passions and everything else. And he was doing NASCAR. And then he comes back and he does, color analysis talking about the game of basketball. But he doesn't have to go and own a team. He doesn't have to go and, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just certain spaces. And I find that just very interesting because I'm happy for Michael Jordan. something had always told me that he wanted to be involved in other endeavors than what the NBA was demanding of him and what he was giving to the NBA. So I'm glad that he is away from that part of it. And maybe because of that, to your point, Jay, is why we're now seeing the Hornets operating in a different space. Like finally, it's being put in the hands of people that really want to be about the business of building up a franchise and a team and a system and doing certain things that may take a little bit longer to get to, but eventually it may actually bear fruit for what we want to see, which is a successful basketball team with sustainable winning success.
I give you a different perspective. The only pushback I would give you, so I agree with a lot of what you said. The only pushback I would give you, I don't think he had the mentality for it. I think that's what it was. Because remember, he broke up his friendship, a great friendship with Charles Barkley because he told him the truth. Michael Jordan likes to surround himself with yes men, not necessarily people who can complete the task at hand. And I think that was a downfall of his ownership tenure with the Charlotte Hornets. Trying to hire just people who quote unquote have your back versus hire a GM who can do the job, my guy. Like, I mean, again, go back to when he came back with the Wizards, right? First thing he did is hire the coach he can play for. Bro, it's not about you. It's about the team. Right. I think that was more of his downfall than that. But I can definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean, they're all valid reasons. I mean, obviously, if you don't have the joy that you can put into something, if you've given 20 years, 30 years of your career to something, I mean, yeah, you probably want to switch it up at that point and do something new. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I want to go fishing and we'll go play golf or whatever. Even if I suck like Charles Barkley, I still want to go spend all my time playing golf. You know what I mean? So shout out to everybody tuning in. Tyler McDowell. Love the convo, fellas. Go Suns. Hey, appreciate you. Suns are playing above their head this year. Gentlemen, any thoughts on the Suns this year?
Wow, look what happens when you get a real point guard.
Yeah.
Shocker. Wow. Shocker.
I want to, Tyler's one of our dudes from 19. So shout out to our guy, Big Take, Hot Take Ty. And
let's go.
For me, I don't think it's controversial, but it's not getting a lot of publicity. I think Jordan Knox coach of the year. I mean, because this Suns team, they have no business like from my lens,
you're right though.
Being here. And I was like, who's Jordan Knox? And while it's dope to see JB Bickerstaff getting love, it's dope to see my guy Joe Mazzulla getting love because everyone thought the Celtics were going to be in the tanker as well too. But who saw the Suns with this? Like nobody except for Matt Ishbia and the Suns saw themselves in this space. So I don't understand. Like Jordan, oh yeah, he's maybe third for coach of the year. Nobody even knew who he was. How is he not the coach of the year right now? You know what I mean? Pretty solidly going to end up in a playoff spot in the Western Conference. To me, the job he's done out there has been friggin' phenomenal. Dillon Brooks, ultimate culture setter yet again. While again, you don't have to love him, but where he goes, there are results, and they may be short-lived. It might be 2 years, and I was like, all right, time for Dillon to get up out of here again.
Gotta go.
Yeah, he's that proverbial. You love him on your team for a few years, but once he got to go somewhere else, and then when you play him, I don't want to play this month.
Yeah. So I'm rocking with Phoenix, man. They've turned my thoughts about them around in a major way. But Jordan Knox specifically, I can't say enough about the job that he's done as a coach.
We had them pegged as among one of the worst teams going into this year. Like they were going to be a lottery team. Yeah. And
they still done this without Jalen Green.
Exactly.
Played like 3 games all year. Like,
I don't even think anyone remembered he was a part of the trade. It's like seriously. I mean, Drea.
That's a very good point.
That's very. Drea might remember, but nobody else remembers that he got moved. You know what I'm saying? So which tells you how locked in. But we did mention this too, though, Shaw. Hey. What is it called? Bad guy Luka or bad Luka? Hey, what about Devin the Devil? Okay, Devin the Devil is back, and I'm loving every aspect of that kind of person. So if it's because of Dillon Brooks that's bringing that part of it out of him, horns and all, pitchfork and all. Hey, I'm about that life with Devin Booker, man, because when he's like that, man, my man loves to cook, and he loves to, and that's the kind of competitiveness that the Suns have been lacking the last few years. Ever since Chris Paul departed during their championship run, Devin Booker has never been the same since that, as far as his mentality, his level of aggressiveness. we're seeing that back again, man. And I'm happy to see that because the Suns are a better team to watch when he's in that kind of mode.
Yeah, but it's not only that. And the last thing I'll say real quick is they have, I would say, the coach of the year, and they also have a candidate for, most improved player in Colin Gillespie. Like, you don't realize what he's doing now at that 2-guard position as not just a shooter, but as a pseudo play creator, can rebound it a little bit as well too. And there's trying defensively. He's not locked down, but he's trying. And those are things out there that in Phoenix, like, you just couldn't necessarily have seen, in essence, kind of coming from them. So 2 guys who are up for potential NBA, season awards out there in Phoenix. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but they're in the conversation. And that's just not something I think anybody saw coming at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, no, I think pretty much everybody thought they were going to be pretty sorry, probably get a lottery. And but look, Devin Booker, he got his team back. It's his team now. No more of the Bradley Beals and the Kevin Durants and the so on. And nope, it is me, myself, and I'm going to ball out as hard as I can to make sure that we win some games. And so, hey, when you take it into your own control and take it in your own hands, I can't even be mad at that. So shout out to Devin Booker and the Suns out there. Let's move it into a couple other things that we do got to talk about. The All-Star game. We appreciate everybody watching, by the way. You are all-stars for watching. Make sure you tap into everybody here. Jay at Unfair Sports, Bobby at the Audible Podcast, and Warren and Cal at Baseline NBA Podcast on IG, and as well at Ball and Buds. We are on Millions, by the way. Yes, millions.co for everyone watching. You're like, what's that? If you are an interviewer, or you are a content creator, or you are an athlete, and you want to do more interviews or be interviewed, or do shows like these, millions.co is your spot. It is free to join. You don't have to pay anything. They help you out with merch. They help you out with reaching different people. If you're an athlete, they pair you with interviewers. I've interviewed a bunch of athletes myself because they have paired me with them and I've reached people that I would have never talked to before, made some really good networking connections. So shout out to millions.co, where I met Warren at, and how I was able to get Warren and Cal on here. They are on millions.co as well. So shout out to the Millions crew. Had to give a shout out to them. We appreciate that. No, that was not an ad. That was just me trying to be nice because, they're hosting us today. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. All right. The All-Star game was this weekend. Obviously, a lot of talk about how bad the All-Star game has been in the past 10, 20 years since, we used to have back in the early 90s when I remember it was really good. But anyways, they played harder. We could say that. I know I was talking to Hot Take Jake. It's funny, they have a Hot Take Ty. We got Hot Take Jake. I was talking to him, and was a Spurs fan. So Wembanyama, he was talking about how he was, and we talked about this earlier, getting them to play a little harder. So I think it was more of the generational kind of gap thing that made them play harder than necessarily USA versus the world, especially because the world was from all over the world and not from one country. But needless to say, there were different reasons that made this work. So we'll start with you, Jay. What was your thoughts on this? Do you think it was a significant improvement? Do you think that will help them to get people to start watching in the future? Because it was still pretty dead when you looked inside the Intuit Dome. I saw the videos. Go ahead.
The game itself was fantastic. Like what you talked about kind of before, like shout out to Victor Wembanyama, being the giant human being that he is, he made everybody play ball. Like the one thing he's basically said he wanted it to be more competitive and he was going to be the one man to do it. And honestly, unless you're like 6'10" and above and the ability to swat every single shot that comes your way, you can do that. And that's what he did. People had to play hard because they knew that he was going to come up behind them and swat that thing out of the state. Most embarrassing thing you can have happen to you at an All-Star game and getting your shot blocked over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, as Marshawn Lynch would say, word to him. You don't want that to happen to you. And Wembanyama basically did that, man. He pushed everybody to play ball and actually compete. I like the format. Reminds me of the old format they did where they used to have each quarter count as an actual game or whatnot, but this time they had 3 teams, so made it even more interesting, breaking them up. So to me, I think that's a good format to keep everybody competitive. It's tough to do it because at this point we're learning more and more every day that the regular season is getting a little too long based upon the wear and tear that these athletes are putting on themselves at a young age. We're not like old school era, man. Good I remember point. Who was it?
Very good point.
It was like Bill Russell, and I think even Wilt Chamberlain even mentioned it. Like back in the day when they played ball, when the summertime hit, they didn't touch a ball. They chilled. They sat on their butts. They relaxed. They didn't do anything. And that's not what they do nowadays. They're playing ball somewhere. Like, pickup ball is different than organized ball. We all know that, right? The strain you put on your body in organized games is way different than it is just doing some pickup ball and loosely playing around. They're playing for real ball. Then you got the Olympics and the FIBA every 2 years in between. It's they're playing way more ball than they should. And then at a young age, they're training too hard. They need to cut back and just play and not focus on just, doing all those drills. So off my soapbox, I enjoyed it. I want to see more of this. Give me more of the competitive, just having fun playing ball type of playoff all-star games.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely more competitive. And I think that did help the 4 different game rotating round robin that they had, Warren. I'm going to come to you. But I also think that it helped that they didn't have music in between the quarters, right? They kept the flow of the game going as much as possible. What were your thoughts?
I don't know if I just froze, but
You're good.
The notion of like the mini games is what really seemed to work for the players, right? Because this has become such a product about entertainment, brand activations, and more so the business and the partying of All-Star Weekend. And that's why by the time Sunday comes, these dudes, like, they don't get an F. Like, yo, get me out of here, right? Was it 2 years ago? Jokic was like, I'm on the tarmac already. Like I'm gone. So this notion here seemed to make a lot more sense, breaking it up into these mini games where, maybe it was a little campy in terms of the Team USA role thing. Cal and I talked about that. Didn't realize they were trying to tie it into the Olympics because NBC was a broadcast partner. Like, my third eye wasn't open on that, but cool, I get you. But either way, it seemed to work, right? And if you can get them to feel like, hey, we don't need to do too much so that we can give what we need to give, like in these like mini spurts, and that makes sense, right? And at some point, maybe they need to add maybe a couple more players in there too, because of all the injury replacements. So the world team didn't have everybody that they needed with no SGA and Luka and Jokic both being a little bit hobbled. So they only played like the first 4 minutes of that first game. Hey, there's other ways in this, and you can try to bring other stars into it. But I was satisfied with it. I told Cal on our show recently, he's like, hey, what were you expecting? It's like, I was expecting a 4, and I probably got about a 7.5, which makes me just like feel that much more better about it because I had really, really low expectations. And I was beginning not to care. So like, I don't really care to complain about it as much because I was like, all right, well, this isn't really for me. But they brought me back in a little bit. So I'm interested to see what they do next year.
I do agree with that. It was better than previous years, and it definitely was something that I actually enjoyed watching instead of previous years where I, kind of tuned it out and just had it on in the background sort of thing. But obviously people are not going to be happy. Well, a lot of people just won't be happy in general with this whole competition, but unless we are able to consistently do this. And we saw with the Elam ending a few years ago that we had something that could have been promising and then they just gave up on it. So it's not even guaranteed that they'll continue this. Adam Silver could always just scratch it next year for all we know. But for now, I agree. I think it was definitely better than what we've seen the past few years. Cal, do you agree?
I mean, it was better. I don't think it's solving. It's going to solve, the issue or the problem, because I think the problem is still, manifested in whether or not the players want to do it. It's simple as that. I was talking about this. We talked about this on our last episode, that it's amazing when you can get the players to buy in. Once they decide they want to compete, then you get a better product of on the basketball court, period. Yep. I agree that it needed to be shorter. That I think trying to mimic what they do through a regular season to suddenly start doing in an all-star game setting situation, I think it takes away from that. And I think we've been getting away from that for years now. When guys have already been doing this now for 82 games, they don't want to come here for a weekend and then have to do that just because we're playing against, a collective super team against us. That's just not what's appealing to this current generation. So I think breaking it up to shorter games, you know what I'm saying? I don't even care if they're playing a game of 21. What it comes down to is what is motivating them to compete. And I think when you hear a guy like Wemby say, hey, I'm gonna ball you up, when you hear guys like Cade Cunningham say, I'm gonna ball you up, then all of a sudden, some of the older heads and some of the guys who probably didn't take All-Star seriously in previous years, now they don't want to get embarrassed on the basketball court. They don't want to get one upped because that hurts their brand activation. So it's interesting, again, how, again, everyone's leaning on the concept and everything. I just think it comes down to, do they want to compete or they not want to compete? And ultimately, if you don't see the players buying into competing, then you should not have an all-star game, period. Like, move on from it or put guys in there that do want to compete. I don't care if you ship guys from college basketball. Use McDonald All-Americans for that spot to go and compete if they're going to go and compete, because you're going to see a better product than struggling to get guys who are already getting paid to go out there and do something they just don't want to do. There's no incentive for them to do it, and there's no amount of money. It just comes down to whether or not they want to do it.
Though, dog. You can't bring McDonald's all American.
No, I was going to say there's probably some liability issues there.
Like, the league would lose their effing minds. Like,
you got some 18-year-olds out here beating some grown ass men, or just vice versa. The grown ass men just Dusty Rhodes elbow drop on there.
Out of here, bro. Like, that's wild.
But you know what though, Shaw?
That's funny.
That is the business of the NBA speaking to why it won't work. You see what I'm saying? So if there's not going to be a solution to that, you're coming back to the very essence of, well, I'm paying, and our brand is paying these guys millions of dollars, and the least that they can do is come out here and act like they want to play. And that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to come out and play, why are we forcing that product? And then what makes it worse is that you're asking the networks to try to dress it up. You can't dress this up. You know what I'm saying? You can clearly see people are spending millions of dollars, right? And I'm not talking about the people that are at the front row down on the ground. I'm talking about the people that are out there in the nosebleed seats. There are people that are flying in from all different places, spending all kinds of money.
Where I would agree with you, though, is like again, not to make this too nerdy, so to speak, especially from the business side, but it would need to really be like a 3 to 5 year phase out because of the contracts that have already been signed with the broadcast partners. So NBC is already positioned. I read something earlier today. The league is like, hey, the idea of, can we do something like Unrivaled and then add that into Saturday night, right? Can we add a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2 tournament to add some juice to what's kind of going on there? Because we know the dunk contest, in essence, is kind of fading out. But if the crux, you know what I mean, the coup de grace of the weekend is supposed to be what happens on Sunday, it has to be with the main stars, of the league. Or if you're getting rid of it, that has to be like, hey, in 2032, we will no longer do the All-Star game, so that the broadcast partners are like, all right, now we know how to soften the blow financially for what our expectations are. But again, I understand what you're saying. But getting people to care is like, it's such a very, very nuanced process, because we've heard years like, oh, they're going to care this year. And then they lay there and laid an egg. And then this year, all of a sudden, Wemby yammed on somebody from the opening tip. It's like, oh, we balling? Okay.
Yeah.
So we balling. We playing, we balling. Oh, okay. We're going to do that.
I think what I'm alluding to is the NBA has taken over and continues to take over on the perception of what they think is appeasing or is going to be attractive for people to watch. And I don't know if whether or not they're really actually listening or buying into what players actually want to see as a level of, if I'm going out there to play, it's under these circumstances, right? Like, in other words, if guys are saying, hey, I want to play 3-on-3, right? Then why is it so difficult not to establish something that will allow them to go out there and play on a 3-on-3 type atmosphere? I'm just using it as an example. I'm not saying it's the actual thing. And I think that's where the disconnect is. They're still trying to do it in the confines of playing 5-on-5 team basketball. And that's the reason why I'm alluding to the fact that these guys are already doing that through the regular season. And now suddenly we're asking them to go do this on this weekend where they're really not supposed to be doing anything, and they're really not trying to injure anybody. So where's the incentive for them to actually go out and compete and play, right? I think if they're going to do it, they want to do it under the circumstances that uniquely fit with where they are with how they want to play basketball. And that's where the current generation is. So the NBA is doing one thing, and right now you see kids, they're still out there that are playing blacktop basketball. You see them playing 3-on-3. you see them buying into what the WNBA is doing with Unrivaled. Like, there are other facets to how a game of basketball is being played, and basketball players are going out there and supporting all of those endeavors and efforts. It's helping their brand activation. So you come back to NBA All-Star Weekend, and they're not doing anything or showing anything that's in connection with what these other styles of basketball is being reflected and displayed. So that to me is part of why I'm like, you got to do something different. And it's amazing that if the guys are going to want to compete, you don't have to ask much for them, or you don't have to juice them up to do it. If it's just something that they want to do, they're going to go and do it. But there's nothing that's being being laid out there for them, I feel like, in a way for them to be able to act on that. That's just me. That's just my opinion on it.
But the thing is,
and I wanted to ask kind of like the group this question, because when you talk about, like, if Wemby sets a tone for like a singular game, that doesn't really mean anything in the long run, right? And then there's the notion, like, I don't know if y'all saw when Rich was talking about Ben Simmons earlier in the year, right? And I was like, I'm trying to figure out how many certified hoopers do we really have in the league right now, versus guys like, hey, I want the bag, I want the glam and the glory, versus guys like, no, I only care about the regular season, right? Where like a KD might say, no, whatever, like he's considered one of like the real hoopers, and now Wemby's kind of coming in that space. I'm going to compete no matter what the competition is. I don't know if the general consensus of the league is built like that. I think we are kind of like the players themselves might even be like a little passive or casual, so to speak, and only care about certain aspects of the game. And NBA All-Star is just not one of those things, you know, especially when you talk about Luka and Joker, who are the premier of their premier in terms of talent, but they could give two F's about what's going on at any All-Star weekend. Again, I don't know, Bob, you were going to talk. So do you have any thoughts on that? And, you know, obviously finish whatever thoughts you were going to say before.
Oh, yeah, I got some thoughts. Tell these dudes to get over yourself. Like, I mean, Cal, you alluded to
right. Where's the
saying
pride?
that these guys, like when they were kids, guess what they did? They watched the All-Star.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It was a point.
This ain't pop up over the last 5 years. The NBA All-Star game has been around since the 70s. Like, it's not a it's a privilege. Like, it's what you do. It's not a want to decide to play. It's what you do. You're chosen because you are the elite at your profession for that year. Like, if you don't want to do it, sit the hell down. Say I'm hurt and I can't play, and let somebody else play who can.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And to your point of saying that if the players decide, I think they decided, and I think we all saw it. Because what you saw was a bunch of guys who do have that mentality of, I'm just here, but you know, because I'm supposed to be here. And guess what?
Here so I don't get fined.
They got mopped up by 30 points. Because them young boys wanted to be there and they wanted to show out. They was pissed that you beat me by 2 points 15 minutes ago. Yep. And they came out and showed, oh no, it's not happening again. So I think we are literally watching the changing of the guard. We saw the future of the NBA. People, we've been having this debate for the last couple of years. Is it Ant? Ja was in there, but he took his hat out of the ring. Is it Wemby? Who's the face of the league? Well, these two dudes stepped up and they answered the call. They're saying we're taking lead, and you saw everybody else follow their lead. Mm-hmm. Like, and it was like, oh, like you said, we playing. When them old heads saw that, yeah, you ain't gonna come out here and embarrass me. And you saw LeBron step up, you saw Kawhi step up, you saw KD step up, until they just got too old, and you know they ain't have enough juice for them young boys. It is what it is. That's life. Father Time is undefeated.
And that's a great segue, though. I appreciate you doing that. Who is the face of the NBA? Is it the Ant-Man? Is it the alien? I mean, what are we talking about? Because you had LeBron, obviously, was the face. No doubt about it for the past few years. Yeah, also had Durant as a secondary, you know, Robin to Batman sort of character. I hate saying that because I love Durant because he's from my DMV. But you have LeBron, and then now you're switching into the time where, like you said, who really wanted it? Everybody was really shy. Tatum was shy, never really wanted it, didn't talk about it. Morant, like you said, just took his hat out of the ring because his just negative behavior. They're not going to put somebody on the face of the league that's doing stuff like that. Wembanyama and Luka, I was worried about because they don't speak English. And do you have to have an English face of the league, or can you do like they did in the interview? I think Malika Andrews asked, should there be a United States face and a world face of the league? And then you would have Ant-Man and Alien both being a face of the NBA. What anybody's thoughts?
Face of the league right now is, I mean, It's Jokic. I mean, but the problem with the face of the
He doesn't
league,
wanna
though,
be
thing
there,
is
you know
too.
what I
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to. Heavy is the crown, right? Like that. That's like one of those things. They don't. Nobody wants to wear that mantle. They don't want to deal with all the scrutiny that comes with it. They don't want to be the one to have to speak out to everything. Not everybody's a diplomat like LeBron, Chris
Right.
Paul, those type of players. So
Mhm.
that's where the challenge comes in of finding someone that wants to actually be the quote unquote face. And so in this scenario, man, I think their biggest challenge is figuring out what the heck is like who wants to hold that mantle. And I don't think anybody does. I mean, it's kind of one of those you're just kind of given. Anthony Edwards has already told you, man, I'm just here to play ball. KD, same way. Like, I'm just here to play ball. I'm only here so I don't get fined, mainly because I just want to play ball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be able to establish a face of the league. Like, if there's one, if anything, it's most likely going to be Wemby because he's the most outspoken out of anybody out there. He's the only one that's willing to talk and criticize the league, criticize everything, and really speak his mind. So, I mean, truth be told, that's the biggest challenge. Who really wants to do that? If anything, I'm probably going to give it to the alien, and he probably should not have it this early. To me, it's way too early for him to even have that mantle.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm looking at the list of the top 10 MVP candidates according to NBA.com right now as going into the break. And listen to these 10 people, gentlemen, and you tell me what the common theme of most of these people is. SGA, Jokic, Doncic, he's probably one of the outliers in this argument, Cunningham, Wembanyama, Brown, Donovan's definitely not in this necessarily in here, but Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, and Kawhi Leonard. Is there any common theme anybody can see there? A lot of them are quiet. A lot of them just don't talk.
They don't talk.
They don't talk in the media. They don't talk they don't talk at all. SGA does after game interviews, and then that's it. Jokic, you want to go play with his horse. He don't want you talking to him about nothing else. He don't care about talking about basketball. Luka, he'll talk because he just talk all damn day. Cade Cunningham, I don't even know what his voice sounds like. Victor Wembanyama, yeah, he'll talk. We just talked about that. Jaylen Brown don't talk. He's one of my favorite players. He don't talk. Donovan Mitchell, I'm not a Cavs fan, but I think he talks a lot. Anthony Edwards, jovial, talking. Jalen Brunson, don't hear a peep out of him. Kawhi Leonard, we all know, don't say a damn word. So,
I'll say Jaylen Brown does talk. Like, he's probably the most outspoken of them all. He's a speaker, right? He's
more in terms of an activist, sort of like
right. But that kind of goes into not that basketball label, right? Like, but the problem too to go with that is it's the over. What's the best way to say this? It's the over quote unquote professionalism of amateur athletes, right? We basically over PR them, over PC them in everything they do, to where they're basically trying to all build brands of themselves, thinking that they are the brand immediately. And I can understand that in a way, but in my personal opinion, some of the better brands are the people that are super outspoken and just that are just dumb. We just kind of enjoy those people, right? Like, those are the people you thoroughly enjoy watching. Sometimes you root for them in a way. It's like, I don't know what it is about that idiot. I love him. I just want to root for that. I want to make sure that I want to see them be successful. We don't get that anymore. We don't get many personalities. Everybody is very much bland as possible, and that is by design, by the over PRification of how we treat athletes in general. That's what takes away from the NBA. Right.
Is
the
it a
NBA
misconception that the face of the league has to be that? Like, LeBron was that, but that's LeBron. Name me the Michael Jordan quote about anything.
That's fine, but
Republicans wear shoes too.
I mean, he
didn't. Michael Jordan didn't speak up about anything. Kobe was the face of the league. He didn't speak up about anything. So why are we expecting this next person who's the face of the league to speak? No, your job as the face of the league.
We just need to have a Magic Johnson year in.
Yes, just promote the game of basketball. That's it.
I think a lot of them feel like they have to, and that's kind of where that piece comes in. It's like, I agree with you. Like, I don't think they should. I think their focal point should be hooping.
Yeah.
Put up numbers. Like, SGA could be that, but of course, that's, again, he's not American. That's usually the complaint. Oh, we don't have any American face. The American face that they're going to want to have is going to be Cooper Flag. Like, he's the one that's going to be pushed to the front of the line over the next few years. Don't get it twisted. He will be. Because he can hoop. and he's a white boy. So you
Yep.
get
And that last part was
it's that diversity double whammy.
the latter
you get
is
outta here.
really what we're
right.
looking
But
at there.
but he's a baller. So as long as
Yeah,
he goes
he
out
is.
there and
He
puts
is.
up
He is.
numbers, no one cares. But that's where the challenge comes in. It's you got to find somebody that wants to understand that the pressure is gonna be on their back to always perform, and that performance isn't only on the court, which is the most annoying thing about it.
Yeah. All right. Kyle, Warren, did y'all both get in? I don't know if y'all got your opinion on that.
Was that you pointing? What was that?
I think he's pointing at you. In the meantime, let's give a shout out. Corbin Owens tuning in. We shout you out, brother. Appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure you tap in all the channels. Also says, I'm a big Lakers fan. Can you talk about them? We will in just a moment. Give us a few minutes to finish this up and we'll talk about it. He said they stink. Don't do that to the man while he's tuning into us. At least say that
I
afterwards.
apologize.
Cal, who is your
They
face
stink.
of the NBA, or what do you think about this?
I believe the NBA is kind of like He-Man, Many Faces, man.
Ooh, I love
Many,
me some
Many
He-Man.
faces. You know, it was easier maybe 10, 15 years ago because you utterly had a dominant player, dominant figure. But I think because the NBA is evolved in different spaces and because it's globalized, it's now has to embrace those different faces. You know, just in the same breath that we're talking about LeBron James, right? Who was more outspoken, and because he was holding the mantle as a young high school kid coming in and doing great things in the NBA. On the same side, Steph Curry, who by all accounts revolutionized shooting the 3-point, but when you actually sat down and had interviews with him, he wasn't always outspoken. He was about as down to earth as you could, but he had lineage because his dad played in the NBA, and he was able to surpass. And he was able to, you know, elevate.
And he's got the baby face, you know, you can
He
feature
became the
him.
baby face assassin, and then paired up with Klay Thompson, elevated the Splash Brothers. He created a dynasty with the Golden State Warriors. And that's, again, he becomes the face of the league, and he takes a different route to getting to that point. I think we're seeing the same thing here when we're talking about Ant-Man and when we're talking about Wembanyama. And I think the one thing that's going to probably help define the elevated talk about face of the league is how dominant these two guys, or anyone else for that matter, are in this particular era. So I'm not even let's remember a couple of years ago, we were trying to make Joel Embiid the freaking face of the league.
That's facts. That's true.
Right? Now you could probably make the argument with Tyrese Maxey and the type of player that he
We
is.
forgot about Tyrese Maxey.
And
didn't
the
even
deals
mention him.
that he has, like with New Balance, and you know what he could possibly do with the Philadelphia 76ers. Can you imagine? Right? Like if he were to get the Philadelphia 76ers to the finals and they were to win an NBA championship, and let's say Joel Embiid is not, 100% Joel Embiid, like it's Tyrese Maxey that goes out there and wills them and helps them win an NBA championship. He's going to get catapulted into a different atmosphere about how he's looked at in the NBA. You know what I mean? And he has a pathway to that. You can do the same thing with Cade Cunningham. You can probably do the same thing with Devin Booker, right? There are guys who have opportunities. There are guys who have opportunities to be able to do that. And that's something that was hard pressed, I think, years ago, because it was always, the big three. It was always the big four or something like that. It's never expanded where there's, a plethora of different ways that you can become the face of the league in the NBA and not even win a championship to do it. It'll be interesting to see who actually gets to that, to that podium first. But I can't say I'm going to pick either Ant-Man, Alien, or anybody else, because the NBA right now is not structured in that kind of way where being the face of the league is only one road or one pathway to doing it. I think that's now just completely wide open.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, Warren, did you have an opinion on that? You want to give your thoughts on it?
Yeah, but I'm super nerdy, man. And it's just like, there's no money in it, because at the end of the day, the contracts are too big. Their brand endorsements are too big. So why take on the pressure of being air quote face of the league? But when Ant-Man gets thrust into it, it's because he's got a big personality. I think, as my guy was saying, right? Like you want to hear him, but arguably, I'm going to use your thing. Close your eyes. Can Ant-Man be the best player? Is he the best player in basketball?
He can be.
he can be.
Yes.
So as long as SGA is still doing what he's doing, you think
I
can
think
pass
he could be.
Yeah.
Sure, I think
He
he
can
could
pass.
be.
Like, okay,
Yes.
I don't think he has that level. I think he's always going to be in the MVP
Oh wow.
conversation.
Okay. Wow.
And that's not a knock. Like saying.
I mean,
like,
it sounds like a knock if you're saying he's
Yeah.
not as good as SGA.
I think he's proven
He's
that
not.
already.
That's crazy work. So
Crazy
I
work.
think-
He put the Timberwolves where they are by himself. If you switch him and SGA, the Oklahoma City Thunder are still champions. If you put SGA on the Timberwolves, they are still the second round exit. So I think talent
That
for talent.
I don't know about that. I don't think that's
Dude,
true.
that is
SGA
certainly
is not carrying Julius Randle to a championship, bro. Keep it a buck.
I'm not as high on Ant, I think, as others
Okay.
are in general. And it's not to say that I'm not high on him, right? I think it's like, will he always be in the top 5 conversation? Absolutely. He's an immense talent with an immense personality, and he can galvanize a group. And that there's something to say about that as well, too, because he has almost single-handedly willed the Wolves to 2 conference finals. I will give him that. But I think as long as SGA and Joker are around, and I don't know how long those things are in place, he's always going to be swimming upstream, I think, on those things. And does he ultimately reach the peak of his proverbial powers before he can take the proverbial mantle? And does the face of the league need to be the best player in the NBA? And I don't know that that's where we are based on seeing some of the things that Khaled said, because the game is so global, and those global guys don't care about trying to grow the game per se in the traditional way that maybe Jordan had to back in those days. But there was also money in it for Jordan at that time.
Yeah,
that
that's true.
is not in the same kind of breath that some of these players are going to have to deal with right now. Because I don't need that back. I'm getting $50-60 million now. I'm getting $100 million from my sneaker deal. I'm working with whatever BetMGM or whatever the case may be. I got money coming in from every which way. I don't need this added pressure for me to go out there and say, hey, put me on every single poster and whatever the case may be. And that's to say they don't care about the game. They don't care about like little kids and everything like that. But there's so much into that that has nothing to do with basketball when it comes to the face of the league that these players are just not interested in, because they want to be worried about their own brand, let alone the brand of the league, so to speak. And I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I mean, that is something that you need to worry about when you are debating whether or not you're going to take on face of the league. You got to know if you want to take on that pressure, because you do have to be squeaky clean at all times, or at least out of public view, not getting caught doing anything scandalous or anything like that. So it is, I mean, look, it's hard for many a regular person, but especially a person who is traveling all the time, is going to be a privy to more of the temptations in life than many of us may be privy to. Maybe more distractions, so on and so forth, as we all know. That professional
Hey,
athletes have to
Professor,
deal with.
since you were going to bring up about talking about the Lakers, let me ask you this question.
Go
I
ahead.
want to ask the panel this question. Do you think that Luka Doncic is currently the face of the NBA, or is a part of that conversation to be the face of the NBA, or is it by de facto that he's playing as a Los Angeles Laker that he is catapulted into being part of the conversation of being in the face of the NBA? It's kind of like the same thing when we talk about if you're part of the Dallas Cowboys. Are you naturally one of the best players because you're wearing that star on your helmet, or is it that you're automatically in that conversation because you have the star on your helmet? And you can get away with not performing at a high level, or a level that is depicting of saying that you're among one of the best players, simply because you're a part of a brand that has superseded even the popularity of what game or sport that you're participating or playing in. Because I can tell you, I have been a Luka Doncic fan, and Sean knows this. I love Luka Doncic. I've said this guy should have been MVP I don't know how many times, but he has shown me that he is not ready to be the MVP. But more importantly, he's shown me that it may not be the most important thing to him, because had that been the case, he'd have been the MVP already. But he has not done the things that has put him in that position that has allowed him to win that. That doesn't mean that he's still now among one of the best players in the game of basketball. But now he has extended his runway because he's playing for a storied franchise, right? And the pressure of him having to be great as a Los Angeles Laker is going to matter a hell of a lot more than him being worried about being the face of the NBA.
But the great part about this is, if you were to ask anyone outside of Adam Silver's conscience, when they conspiratorially traded AD for Luka after Adam Silver was in the back rooms with Nico Harrison having a couple bottles of whiskey and apparently coming up with this trade to make sure Luka represented LA, so they had a face. Yeah, that's exactly what the NBA wanted. That's the whole reason they placed his damn ass there. That's the whole reason Cooper Flag's in Dallas, to hedge in case JT don't want to be more than quiet and get off the and be the face of the NBA for the Celtics. So look, man, don't even get me on my soapbox. That's stupid trade. No, it was clearly a conspiracy. It was clearly driven by Adam Silver, just like when David Stern, God rest his soul, made sure Tim Duncan didn't go to the Celtics, made sure that Patrick Ewing went to the Knicks. I can go on and on and on about the NBA conspiracies, and you're right, they did try to put him in that position, and he's not going to take it like Morant. He's just going to fumble it as usual, and he don't speak good enough English anyway, so I don't want to hear him. Anyways, let me get off my soapbox. Anybody else?
I think Luka had a path to that, and Kyrie Irving let him down. Because if Kyrie Irving would have played a better finals, they would have won that finals, and that would have been Luka's path right there.
But that's why you don't trade him away, because he took you to the conference finals. You don't trade him in the first place.
But no, I'm saying his path also ended because of that situation.
No, I got you. Yeah.
Right, that situation kind of muddled up his path, and I mean, Cal's right. His game is face of the league worthy. It's MVP worthy. He just needs the accolades, right? And so it's up to the Lakers to decide if he gets those accolades.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. All right, well, let's move it on. We got a little bit more to talk about. First of all, just a really quick sports professor giving you your ratings here. The NBA peaked at 9.8 million viewers, which was 80% increase over last year, which I don't know what that is, 87% over last year. So, 10 million, I guess that would be 2.3 million. So it was about 2.5 million last year. So obviously they did something right. And obviously people are tuning in to see some of these players. Now, was the dunk contest good? No, they need to get rid of that crap. Because look, my thing with the dunk contest is that if you don't have people that can, well, the first thing is we've ran out of dunks. How many dunks can you come up with, right? I watched the Dunk Man contest, which is like all the, ballers who maybe you don't know about. And Jordan Klingon is there, and he does this scorpion dunk where he goes backwards under the rim, and that's the best dunk you could do right now that anybody could do, unless someone could flip over the rim and dunk. They just need to get rid of that because it was boring even with the energy of the young kids this year. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, Sean, you start.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to know if anybody had that was my thought on it. I'm just like, what are we doing right now?
I'm with you. Get rid of it, man. Let's get a 1v1 tournament in there.
1v1, that's what I want to see. The unrivaled 1v1 was awesome. I watched a lot of that because it was awesome.
Horse. Let's get a horse in there. Well, give me 8 guys in a game of horse.
He's a horse.
Yeah. At least one-on-one is a little more competitive than the horse.
Before the fun you get through. Steph Curry before the All-Star game hit a shot from the NBC announce table. He did.
Yeah, I saw the video of it. Yes, right. He can hit a shot from anywhere. So what does that mean?
I know. I'm saying let's get some horse going. They'll have fun with it. They'll make it 2K like.
All right. Well, there you go. Horse it is. Once I can finish this background, I'll get us back to looking right. But I don't know how to fix this background right now.
Some Jordan versus Bird off the scoreboard, off the table.
There you go. All right. Cool. So let me let's go ahead and bring up the next one while I figure out why this banner is not working. Tanking. Tanking was the big talk of the weekend. So obviously lots of teams here that have already pretty much given in. We know, the Wizards traded for AD and Trey and then completely just sat them out, what looks like to be for the rest of the year, most likely. You have all these other teams that aren't really trying hard. I count about 11 in the standings that have pretty much given up or soft given up. So what are your thoughts on tanking? Is there any way to fix this problem? Obviously, you have the things that the MLB has done with their luxury tax and taking away draft picks. You have what they've started to do with the second apron and other things in terms of signing people in the NBA. So are there any thoughts there? We'll go ahead and start with you, Warren. We haven't started with you yet. So what are your thoughts on tanking?
I mean, we did a deep dive on it, right? And then as we record here today, we're doing our show. Sacramento announces like half their team is not going to play the rest of the season. Levine is out for the rest of the year. Sabonis is now out for the rest of the year. But they were already bad. And so I think in assessing Adam Silver's talks and conversation at this press conference, there's a middle ground that needs to be had, but we haven't found it just yet. Sacramento did not want to have 12 wins at this point of the year. Like, that's not what they set out to do. They're a bad basketball team. They're just bad. And so now they are not tanking, but they're bad. So where's the line from that versus a team that is now intentionally like subbing their season? I don't know. And I guess maybe I have to really go back in some of the games. I don't think Indiana was trying to tank to begin the year, but then 10 games in, they were like, we're pretty trash. You know what? So we're going to bail on it as well. And so then it just becomes like this trend as different teams come to their realizations. We knew Washington coming into the year, like they knew what it was. Like they were absolutely tanking from the outset. Utah, maybe to a lesser degree, and then Kessler got hurt and so forth and so forth. But there's nuance to this, right? The Pelicans are terrible, but I'm telling you, they did not expect to be this bad because it didn't serve them because they gave up their draft pick to Atlanta. So why would they want to be this bad? So there's just so many things that are happening right now. And as teams realize, like, you know what, we have no chance of saving our proverbial season. So now it's time to cut bait, sit our guys, and let's see if we can get these draft picks. And I think to some degree, while you can say whatever you want about Commissioner Silver, there's a through line there that I think now as media we're latching on to. It's like, oh, everyone's tanking. That's not the case for every one of those teams. It wasn't what their goal was to begin the season, save maybe one or two. Now you see maybe 9 or 11 saying, oh, well, now it's that time. Because even Dallas now, Kyrie Irving's out for the year. All right, no chance of him coming back. So they're going in the tanker. Will we see Cooper Flag play plus minutes for the rest of the season? That remains to be seen because he had a little scare and didn't play an All-Star weekend as well. To me, it is a big issue, but you have to take it kind of not necessarily in its bubble, but in its sectionality of the season of why it's happening for that, right? I think Brooklyn's another team is probably from the beginning of the year, we knew they weren't going to be good, but there's just so much nuance to it there. And I don't necessarily have a fix because every time the league does anything, they create unintended consequences.
Facts. Big facts.
Somebody else finds a way to circumvent that as well too. And that's to say that you don't try to fix the problem.
Right.
But I think every fix, there's going to be something like, oh, well, we didn't think about that. Now look what they've done. Now we got to address this. And you can continue to kind of mess with it until you think you have it right. But I think every 3 to 5 years, we're going to have same version of this problem.
Well, I mean, look, they recently fined the Jazz $500,000 for keeping Markkanen and Jared Jackson Jr. out of the fourth quarter in consecutive games to try to lose those games, which is funny because they actually won one accidentally. They fined the Pacers $100,000 for keeping Pascal Siakam out of a game. But these fines are not doing anything because these fines are like a drop in the bucket for these teams that have billions of dollars. You look at the Cal, you look at the MLB, you look at what they did with taking away draft picks. In the MLB, if you go over the luxury tax a certain amount, you get your first round draft pick taken away, or you lose 10 spots and then you to get it taken away. So maybe we get into the thing where, okay, if we know you're obviously you can't prove, but when teams are tanking. If you're tanking, all right, the first time we catch you, you get your second round draft pick taken away. The second time you get caught, you get your first round draft pick taken away. Something like that. Maybe change the way the lottery is weighted. Some people have even said something crazy like abolish the draft completely. What are your thoughts? Nope, you're on mute, brother.
Yeah, I was pantomiming for you guys. Yeah, look, this is what happens when you've injected sports gambling, into this space.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about that. You know what I'm saying? There's just nothing you can do about that. I agree with Shaw. I don't know if there's going to necessarily be any particular kind of fix. I think part of the problem as well too is that the despair, the gap between teams that are good and teams that are just really bad. I think there are too many teams in that threshold as it pertains to the NBA. And it's, it sucks. I think the NBA has to start really looking into within itself and stop looking at what the NFL does and what MLB does, because their markets are not set up the way that the NBA's market is set up. And it's much more glaring and it's much more outspoken, because now the media is now injected itself by labeling this thing called tanking, when a part of this conversation really has to be look at how the organizations have managed and operated over the last few years to get to this point. Has it been that they've really been tanking, or has it been that this organization is just ran bad, right? They don't have basketball people making sound basketball decisions, and their agenda and their belief is not about going out to win basketball games. It's about getting people to buy in to whatever professional sports team that is injected in their city, in their area. Like, there's other hidden agendas that are impacting the decisions to what we're seeing now play out for the remainder of this basketball season, right? And some of that is not going to get unfolded until we get to the end of the year. Where I think it becomes a problem is how we're evaluating and valuing the draft picks, right? And so that, to me, I think is what's going to be the bigger question, because if you're Adam Silver, remember, you only have 2 rounds, right? This is not the NFL where you got like 6 or 7 rounds of players and you're putting together like a complete team, almost like a roster. You're only getting to select 2 guys. And then mainly most of the guys that you probably will get, you're doing on tryouts and 2-way contracts. So you're pulling them from G leagues and things of that nature. Right. So you're not really even giving yourself an opportunity for us to really evaluate the plethora of talent that is available to some of these teams. And so unless you're lottery, everything else is just like, the only time that we've talked about these guys, whether they are mid-round or end or whatever the case may be, is because of who they've been drafted by after you actually see them go out and play. There's no pathway to seeing them. And the NBA has to do a better job of that. They have to make a decision on how they value the draft. And in doing that, it will also help them better evaluate how teams are operating to be worthy of being a lottery draft. You know what I'm saying? Like, are they actually competing, or are they just playing to tank to be qualified to say, I'm going to be a part of that, that lottery draft class and stuff like that. There's a lot of no one decision, no one move that the NBA is going to make is going to clearly fix this problem. But what they have to do is they have to properly define what is perceived as tanking. Because to Shaw's point, there are 3 examples of teams that are not exhibiting the role or the mode of tanking, yet they're being lumped into this conversation, which is exacerbating the field of the ineptitude of the competitiveness that's happening right now between the play-in and in the teams that are not even going to be in it right at this particular point, which is what you don't want. You literally want almost all the teams somewhere along the line mathematically still in contention and not being counted out where we're already talking about them tanking.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You want teams that are going to be in it till the end. And I know they tried to do the play-in for that reason. And I mean, look, it helped a little bit for a while, but still teams are going to tank if they inherently believe that is going to improve their chances to get this draft changing player that you talked about, the Cooper Flag, the Luka, the Wemby, whoever. So yeah, I think draft picks needs to be part of the punishment. Maybe the way you weigh the lottery, Bobby, maybe you start to let more teams in the lottery. Maybe it's just like the teams that, or maybe you even shrink it a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Nope, I got the fix right here.
Oh,
you're gonna want to clip this. I mentioned this earlier on Game Time 216. Here it is. First thing I'm doing is I'm getting rid of this freaking pick protection. What is that? If you trade your pick, you trade your pick. You don't get to protect anything.
Okay.
If you want to pay the cost to get a certain player, pay that cost.
I like
is
that.
what it is. The next thing I'm doing, the people that are paying the ultimate price is us, the fans, right? Because no matter what happens, no matter how good or bad your team is, if you want to take your kid to enjoy a game, it's going to cost you, right? So here's what we're going to do. The average number of wins for teams who barely make the playoffs or barely miss the playoffs is usually between 40 to about 35 wins, right? So that's going to be my 0 number. from 40 to 35, I'm going to put a 0. Why? Because if you win less than 35 games, the next season, you have to decrease your ticket prices by 10%.
Ooh.
If you win less than 20 games, or
Interesting.
from 35 to 25,
Never heard this one.
if you win less than that number, you have to decrease your ticket prices by 20% the following season. Oh, and if you win less than 15 games, you have to decrease your ticket prices by 30% the next season. Oh, and guess what? Every subsequent year after that you don't win, hit the 0 mark, we're going to tack on 3% to your decrease the next season. Oh, how do you get out of this penalty? You have to be above that 0, either at or above the 0 number 2 seasons in a row. We're going to make these freaking owners reinvest in their people. Hey, Steve Ballmer, stop trying to pay Kawhi under the table. Pay your damn training staff so Kawhi can actually be on the court. Reinvest the money in your team. Y'all didn't become billionaires by accident. You reinvested it the smart way. Reinvest in your basketball teams. Reinvest in general managers who can do the job. Reinvest in coaches who can coach the team. Reinvest in the G League teams that you own to develop your future talent, and you won't have to worry about it. That's how I fixed it, because obviously they don't have a problem taking money, right? All these teams are getting fined for playing, including, you forgot to mention, my Cavs. We actually got fined twice.
Okay.
And we definitely aren't trying to tank. So yeah. Hit him, and then hit him where it counts.
Yeah, either hit him in the money or the draft position.
That'll wake everybody up.
I mean, yeah, I don't know that the owners would necessarily agree to that stipulation, but in theory,
just do it.
In theory, it would work. Yeah, in theory.
Well, no, but
like
you
that.
bring, Bob,
I haven't heard that idea.
An excellent point in that, again, what we saw 10, 15, 20 years ago when David Stern was there wasn't as egregious as what we're currently seeing. And I'm not saying that to say that I'm
right.
trying to diss Adam Silver.
Right.
What I'm saying is that he has to be a little bit more fervent, and he has to, if he believes in the brand, he believes in the shield of the NBA, he has got to figure out a way to protect it. And protecting it is not necessarily by just going out and just finding people. Protecting it is actually establishing a line saying, I do have, I have control of this. And as much as I know that I work for you, you have to work for me, right? You have to work with me, right? Like, I can't continue to go out to the world and sell the idea of expanding the NBA when we're struggling with only 25 teams looking like they want to compete. And I got to deal with another 5 or 6 teams here that every year out, you're not even trying to compete, but you're charging prices and you're making money almost equivalent to that of some of those larger markets that are continually competitive and are continually to elevating the brand of what you want me to go and sell out, so globally. And that doesn't make any sense. So I agree with you. I think that if it comes down to doing something like that, and it motivates them to help kind of put them in a different space than how they're operating, I'm all for that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think you continue to incentivize the idea that what they're doing is not going to further exacerbate the idea of what tanking is, because now we're getting lost in what that perception is. And the minute that happens, you almost make everything a validation to assume that it's tanking when it's really not. And then you'd have no wiggle room for any solutions that you're going to offer to the table to fix the problem, or not even fix the problem, but improve the circumstances of the problem.
Yeah, I just got to say, I mean, I think in theory, the idea makes a lot of sense. But what happens to the team who they got injured? And so they're bad because everybody got hurt. I mean, that's Memphis to some degree. I mean, they're probably also somewhat poorly ran. And then maybe some of the players they selected, a la Ja, weren't maybe the best long-term fits, but they didn't know that going in. But if, you just get bit by the injury bug, like the Sixers or whatever the case may be, and now you're a bad team unintentionally. And so now you can't get better as a result of some of those penalties. That's what I'm saying. Each thing is going to have some unintended consequence, or you're going to end up penalizing somebody who maybe doesn't deserve to be penalized. And again, as I look through this list of all 30 teams, only 3 of them really came into the season. We know they had no hope of trying to be competitive. Utah, Brooklyn, and Washington. Everybody else, at least saw themselves trying to be doing something this year, and the season has kind of shifted for them where, hey, now it's time to kind of cut bait.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, like that happens. That's life. That's sports. Like, and at the end of the day, it's going to balance out because your misfortune is going to lead to the fortune of another team. Hey, maybe getting up out of that penalty situation, right? And then guess what? Next year, you'll be back on your feet, right? Everybody be healthy. Let's go at it again.
And I
So
do.
This is all about providing that competitiveness.
And
Like, I mean, look at the Boston Celtics.
I was just about to say that. I agree with both of you because I originally would have agreed with Warren's point, but then I'm thinking to the Celtics versus Indiana, which one team just completely gave up, but the other team didn't. Indiana didn't have to give up like that. You still got Pascal Siakam. You can't be that bad of a team with Pascal Siakam.
Well,
I mean,
you can't.
You could.
Like, the thing about Indiana was Nembhard was hurt to begin the year, and then Mathurin like messed up his shoulder after dropping 30, and then all of a sudden he missed like the next 12 games. So it derailed their season. Siakam alone, even in the Eastern Conference, wasn't enough to kind of keep them afloat. You know what I mean? And McConnell was hurt to begin the year.
It will happen. Yeah, it will.
But what did they do in the offseason? You let one of your best players walk. So I can't feel sorry for you. Yeah,
one of their best players, Miles Turner?
Yeah. You mean tell me Miles Turner wouldn't make a difference on the roster right now?
Miles Turner is not good, Bobby.
I'm not. He wouldn't make a difference on this roster right now.
I think he was good on the Pacers. I think he brought a good.
He was good on the Pacers with Halliburton.
Okay, that is true. They traded him because they didn't have Halliburton.
That's
so maybe
like,
that's what they're looking at.
I don't know. We'll have to agree to disagree there. I think the Pacers had.
Who would you rather have, Miles Turner or Jay Huff?
That's not even a question. But would you want to pay? Do you want to pay what? Would you pay Miles Turner what Milwaukee's paying Miles Turner? Do you want Miles Turner at that price?
A lot of money.
Would you want to lose $5 million in ticket sales?
Say that again.
Would you want to lose $5 million in ticket sales or pay this dude so you can make $30 million in ticket sales?
I think I would rather rebuild my roster and let Miles Turner walk in the way they did. Look at you think Milwaukee's happy with their investment?
And that's my point. These are the choices you're going to have to make. Like, I'm not going to feel sorry for you when the choice is up to you. You do what you want to do. You got 2 years to turn it around. That's all my rules would be. You can have that exact mindset. You got 2 years to turn it around. Okay. Good luck to you.
All right. Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of.
See?
No, go ahead, Warren. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's wild. It's wild.
I mean,
but when you're messing and you're dipping in people's pockets, like they feel a quicker duty to respond. So that's where that's so much merit. Yeah.
But unfortunately, the people who are being dipped into, being us, the fans, we can't respond.
All right. Well, hey, that was a very spirited conversation. I can't wait to see what happens. They're going to have to come up with something because tanking is only going to get worse if not cut off. And again, it's not the same as other sports, like you said, but there are things they can take from other sports in terms of even like I keep going back to Major League Baseball luxury tax and how you lose draft positions for spending too much like the Dodgers and the Mets. So maybe you could do some inverse of that. Anyways, don't want to keep everybody here too late because I know especially Warren got some things to do. So let's get into our last couple topics here. NBA, Chris Paul, what an unceremonious retirement. Went back to LA, was not able to recreate the days of Lob City or anything like that, but he really meant a lot to that franchise. Not only that, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer in the NBA, even without a championship. You can say he's a top 5 point guard, possibly of all time. You can say he was possibly a top 10 generational player of his player in his generation. Maybe top 15. So we'll start with you, Bobby. A lot of consternation here from people about the way he was released, the unceremonious way it happened, not only in LA, but then in Toronto, although at least Toronto's trying to give him another shot. He is not going to take that shot. He is instead going to retire. He was the point god was his nickname. He will be one of only 3 players with 20,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 2,000 steals, joining LeBron and Russell Westbrook. Shout out to my UCLA brother. Bobby G, what are your thoughts?
It's just sad, like for someone so accomplished and like I say, he's one of the greatest to ever play the game. One of the top 75 greatest players. Mm-hmm. It's just sad, and it's the NBA. We got to do better. Because this is not the first time. We go see how Carmelo Anthony went out. We see how Allen Iverson went out. right? We got to do better by our greats, man. These guys need to be celebrated, especially if you want the game to grow. Is you ask these guys to be ambassadors even after they're done,
Right.
then let's give them the red carpet and the flowers on the way out.
I completely agree. Cal?
I mean, it hurts the Clippers a hell of a lot more than it hurts Chris Paul.
Mm.
That's just there's no getting around it. And I've seen I think Chris Paul just recently, was on Carmelo's, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast, and he was kind of speaking to what happened or what occurred, giving his side of the story. The Clippers doing their spin or whatever. It doesn't absolve the fact, and this is one of the few opportunities and a few times that I think the NBA could have stepped in and had done something about this as well too. And again, these are the type of misses that I'm talking about. I'm not going to put a blame on any one particular thing, but I'm just saying that if you're the NBA, you got to be cognizant of these things, because I think it's going to have long-term effects with how young players now perceive what they, when their time comes and they're ready to call it quits, they could just easily unceremoniously walk away from something, don't give an explanation to nothing. And at the end of the day, the NBA has to be the one that has to take it on the face. Do you really want that? Especially for a guy as storied as Chris Paul, without winning a championship. So yeah, it's an unfortunate circumstance. I still think that, at the end of the day, no one's going to take anything away from his legacy and what he's done. Every team that he's been a part of, they were better, right? Teams, whether it's only for a year, 2 years, or whatever the case may be.
Oh my God. Yes. He improved you every
the
time.
Exception of what just happened here with the Los Angeles Clippers,
Mhm.
right? So that's something that the Clippers really can't sweep under the rug. Like they can't get away from that. It actually puts more of an emphasis on what the Clippers are clearly lacking. And, that's just unfortunate. But listen, Chris Paul, if he's good, he's doing his thing, more power to him. And, we'll wait and see what the next chapter is going to look like for the LA Clippers.
I can't believe, I am completely with you. I cannot believe the way that he has been treated. And one of, like we've all said, one of the greatest players, one of the 75 greatest players in the NBA, Warren. And just for him just to be, and to another point, Cal, you mentioned it. They had no problem stepping in to deny him getting traded back to the Lakers when they had the control of the Hornets, did they? They had no problem stepping in then when it was Chris Paul, but now all of a sudden we can't try to help our man out when he's given so much to the league. What are we talking about, Warren?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to watch that, somebody who's meant so much to the game and cares about the league in the way that he has. Even his advocacy for HBCUs and trying to bring that highlight to how the league is also being highlighted, and bringing that level of player to the league as well. But in some ways, he's gone on his own terms now. I'm sad from the LA side where I felt like they should have worked harder. Once they said, "Hey, you're no longer going to be with the team," worked harder to find him a spot. And I don't know, we're not in the front office, right? But from the outside looking in, it doesn't appear that they did a lot to try to get that situation.
They didn't try that much to make it
right.
Up,
and then trade deadline, hey, we'll send you to Toronto, and then Toronto was like, hey, we'll waive you. So Cal and I talked about we knew he was going to get away from Toronto, but thought he would air quote chase the ring, and we would all be good with it, right? Like why force CP3, go get it. Do what you do. You've done so much for the game. You have no problem if you want to ring chase, and whether that be with an OKC or whatever team. But he decided, listen, this is enough. And like I said, if he's at peace with air quote it going this direction, because I think a team would have picked him up. But he's saying now he doesn't want to be bothered with the chase, and he's content with his career. And either way, he's done a lot. First ballot Hall of Famer. Everywhere he goes, he's had a positive impact, and a lot of people respect Chris Paul. And there's a lot of people saying the exact things we're saying here on this show right now. It's hey, we wish it were different for him, but he said it's enough. And so I got to tip my cap to him for a great career.
I just wanted to, Bobby, were you going to say something?
No, but I'll throw a quick question. Do you guys think he has a future as a coach?
Yeah, that's interesting. If I were Chris Paul, from the way I have watched him and seen him, I could probably see him coaching college. I don't think I see him coaching the NBA.
Okay.
And actually, I appreciate you bringing that up, Bobby, because I want to make this point. and I'm saying this because I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm saying it because I want to keep it 100. For the players that are out there that are like, hey, like most of those interviews that you're seeing, I'm not calling out any one specific person. I know that there have been some athletes or former players or former teammates who have spoken to, the type of person Chris Paul is and everything like that. I would say to you is, if this helps you look like you're an NBA insider, the only thing that it's shown me is that he lasted in the league a lot longer than you did, and there's a reason why. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, his resume reflects and resembles something that you never achieved. I cannot stand when I see certain players get out there saying, oh, well, he's the kind of guy that goes talking behind and does this, that, and the third, or whatever the case may be. And you're not actually there. You're not in the circumstance and the situation. You're still not even competing right now. You are analyzing and you're critiquing what a person's actions were that led to the circumstances of what we're talking about right now. And that just aggravates me more than anything, because to me, what it gives off that impression is that he has always been that person, as if to say the guy never evolved, as if to say the guy never showed us what he was when he first came into the league and what he's transitioned to even towards the end of his career in the league. And I just want to make sure that part of it is being emphasized as well, too, because that to me also elevates the conversation about where Chris Paul wants to be with this. And I'm adding on to what Shaw was talking about a moment ago, in the sense that maybe he's good with the fact that I don't need to be a part of this atmosphere of where the NBA is and how players and teams and operate in that particular space. And I got to sit here and navigate through this at 40 something years old. It's like, that's not where my energy needs to be. And I feel like if that's good and you can walk away from that, and I respect him a hell of a lot more than going through the aches and pains of trying to.
Yeah, don't put up with that shit.
You wouldn't be good with. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, don't put up with that. Don't let yourself, who, like you said, put in such a great career and gave so much back to the game. Don't let them put you through the ringer trying to make them happy. Nah, man, go out. There's nothing more for you to accomplish except win a championship, which again, like you said, no one would have been mad and no one would be mad. Hey, you still got a couple months to go home, rest, and come back for the end of the year shinings that you could possibly get picked up on a team that might need you. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into those updated picks, our updated NBA Finals and MVP picks before we get out of here. We like to do these on every show, no matter where we are, just to see where we are along the line. So, again, your top contenders right now, we talked about the Pistons, we talked about the Thunder, we talked about the Spurs. You also got the Knicks, Celtics, Cavs, Nuggets, Rockets, and the Lakers and Timberwolves, rounding out the top 10 in terms of rank of standings, in terms of win-loss records. Also in the MVP, SGA is NBA.com number 1 right now. Jokic at number 2, Doncic 3, Cunningham 4, Wembanyama 5. So we'll go around the horn. Warren, we'll start with you. Give us your updated finals and MVP picks, please.
Oh man, I haven't given this too much thought, and
that's okay. It's okay.
By the time
we'll do it again later.
We probably talk again. Asking me here today on February 18th and almost 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Yes, that is.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with Cavs and Thunder.
Still going with the Cavs. Okay, wow.
Let's go.
I understand they got to prove it. I do, and I'm very hesitant in that. But right now, I think the fit on paper seems to work. I think Harden's going to unlock Mobley in a way that we've been all really waiting for, like kind of that second, third level, or whatever the case may be. And Donovan is playing an amazing season that is like kind of going underrated to some degree, and I'm not quite sure why. Jalen Tyson is hooping.
Yeah.
So they found a lot of great pieces, and I think Harden's going to be able to acquiesce. And Donovan is a guy who can take some of the pressure off of Harden's air quote failures in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I like Cleveland, although I think the Knicks are probably still a better constructed team because they have the continuity, but they're so Jekyll and Hyde, it gives me a little bit of pause. And I'm very concerned about Tatum coming back in Boston. Like I know y'all were talking about it before I got on, so I won't rehash any of that. So that's why I'm picking Cleveland in the East. And I think OKC, when all is said and done, is still the best team in the Western Conference, despite the overtures by the Spurs and the Nuggets, right there. That's who I got there. So yeah, that's my finals pick. You need me to do MVP now or we'll come back to that?
Yeah, you know what? We'll come back to that because I actually want to keep with the finals talk real quick. Cal, what you got?
Look, I picked the Cavaliers to make it out of the East. I'm hesitant, but I'm still going to go with it. Obviously, they pushed their chips all in by getting Harden. So that doesn't mean that I don't think that the Pistons and the Knicks are not, looking over their shoulder. And I think it's going to come down to the matchups, the playoff matchups that take place between the first round and the semifinals to kind of prove my point. As far as the West, I had the Timberwolves picked to finally get to the NBA Finals because I believed that this was going to be the year that Anthony Edwards was going to take a step forward and be in the MVP conversation. And I guess in maybe the first 10 games, it kind of showed a little bit, but that he's tapered off. I know he was kind of in and out of the lineup a couple of times as well, too. I just don't see the team good enough to be able to rock with where the Thunder is. I think when the Thunder comes fully healthy, they're just too deep of a team. And there's not too many teams really in the Western Conference are going to be able to deal with them. So I think it's going to be the Cavs and the Thunder in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it's funny because you and Warren's explanations just changed my mind on one of my picks. Bobby, go ahead.
Now I don't want to jinx it. I mean, these two gentlemen have made fine choices. I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and pick the Celtics then. Just say the Celtics are going to go to the NBA Finals to make you feel better. It's like, I'm good with that, whatever.
But in the West, I'm actually going to go with the Spurs.
Okay. All right.
I believe these little nitnoid nagging injuries that SGA and Jalen Williams and the other guys on the Thunder are dealing with. I watched the same thing. This is kind of how the Cavs season went last year. We were playing great. We had a little couple injuries. You're like, okay, we'll be good in the playoffs. I think in the playoffs, those little nitnoid injuries are gonna be the things that are their downfall for not necessarily their play. And I think the Spurs are clearly good enough to capitalize on it because they've been a thorn in the Thunder side all season.
Yeah, that's a good explanation.
In the East, I'm going to go with the winner of the Pistons-Cavs series.
Okay. All right.
I believe these two teams will meet. I'm not going to say what round. I don't think it matters what round. It won't be the first. I know that. It'll either be the semis or the conference finals. Whoever wins that series, I believe, will represent the East. Yeah, with both these guys. I mean, James Harden, he's had his playoff woes, but it's the yin and yang, right? James Harden's thing is he can get past the second round. Donovan's thing is he can't. James Harden's thing is he doesn't show up in playoffs with. Well, Donovan has no problem showing up. He just can't get past. So that yin and yang, and I agree. I think he's going to unlock a new level in Evan, and I think an improved Jalen Tyson and the other moves we went under the radar. Keon Ellis, so we finally have a defender, a perimeter defender that we can put on a Jalen Brunson, we can put on a Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum if he's there, or Cade, So yeah.
Now, man, so all three of you have factored in to my decisions changing here. I pick. Everybody knows I picked the Knicks. Excuse me, to start the season versus the Thunder. I'm going to stay with the Thunder. Look, y'all know me. If you know my NBA talk, I always talk about net ratings and how important that is. How good are you in your offensive and defensive net ratings? And when you look at the top contenders, there are 4 teams in the top 10 of offensive and defensive ratings. That's the Spurs, that's the Thunder, that's the Celtics, and that's the Timberwolves. I think, as Cal said, the Knicks are a little, or maybe it was Warren, I apologize, I don't know who said this. The Knicks were a little up and down, a little Jekyll and Hyde-ish, right? Cavaliers, you're right, 12 of 14 since they got Harden. They're 12-2 since they picked him up. So he's been a pickup. I thought he was going to be exactly what they needed in terms of another score. Can that hold up? Can they finally get over the hump, sort of thing? I want to be a homer and pick my Celtics. I do, because Jaylen Brown is a superstar. He is a number one. You could get JT back, have 2 number ones, win a championship. If he does come back healthy, I would call a championship back. But I want to see what happens first with JT. Mixing in with Vucevic, because I thought that was a great pickup for the Celtics, but he hasn't meshed just yet with the rest of the team as well as I thought he would. So that's something I would want to look at too. So I am going to keep the Thunder, and I am going to go to the Cavs instead of the Knicks. I'm updating my pick to the Cavs. I believe that with this pickup of Harden, that they can go ahead and hold it. I just don't think the Knicks. I really did have a promise for them, but now seeing how good the Celtics are playing, and with Harden coming to the Cavaliers, I think both of those teams are better than the Knicks. So I'm going to go for now as my updated pick, Cavs and Thunder. And before we get you out of here, because I have to, because I got two Celtics fans, NBA, should Jason Tatum return? Yes or no? Bobby, we'll start with you, the non-Celtics fan. What do you think?
No.
No.
Don't
Wait till next year.
Yeah, we seen what happened to Clay. He tried to come back, or he got hurt during his rehab, and we saw what happened to KD trying to come back too early. So, nah.
Okay. All right, Warren.
It's a no for me, dude.
Oh, you're hurting my heart. You're hurting my heart.
So I'm going to say something that's going to be a little controversial, so to speak. And to me, Tatum and Brown have a certain level of confidence that almost borders on clout chasing. Like it really does. Because Tatum, I think he's searching for a certain level of respect, and people have forgotten about him in a lot of ways. Because remember, it was going to be Tatum's. He's going to be MVP and multiple MVPs, and we're not talking about those things anymore. So now he can be the first guy to come back from the surgery in X amount of time and potentially lead his team to a storied playoff run on a storied franchise. There's a certain level of confidence that he has as a player that I admire, but also is like, do you really need to do that? Like, is it really worth it? And I'm not sure there. So that's a long-winded way of saying, like, I don't think he should come back, but I know he is.
But now you've just told me, and in my thinking, that we have another NBA conspiracy, and they're going to have a Jason Tatum, Willis Reed-like emergence in the finals to help us win, like Porgy did a couple of years ago. I was there for that game, by the way, game one of the finals. It was amazing. I was sitting right next to the Celtics bench. It was tremendous. Cal, what you got?
Nah.
No! Wow! 3 of them.
Nope.
Yeah.
But it's just not a good. It's not a good look for the Celtics right now. I think this is the kind of season that Jaylen Brown needed. This is the kind of season Joe Mazzulla needed. It's the kind of season Peyton Pritchard and all of these guys, Sam Hauser, they needed this type of season. I think the storyline with the Celtics, especially since they won the championship, was how dependent they are on Jason Tatum being quote unquote the MVP guy. And I think Jaylen Brown, him, and I'll do the inverse conversation of the clout chasing part to Shaw's point. Jaylen Brown wins NBA Finals MVP, and yet he's still not being, touted. He's still not being given the respect that I think even he believed was necessary because he plays next to a great player like Jason Tatum, right? He gets the Supermax deal first, right? And he's still not getting that level of respect. He gets that deal, and they're just like questioning whether or not the Celtics should have. They felt like they were forced to do it because they won the championship, right? In spite of him being the great player that he is. I think this season has validated how great of a player that he is, and I think they need to see it through. Now, I'm not saying that Jason Tatum should have to come back. I'm just saying that, like, I don't want him to come back because, to the point, one, injury, but also two, the Celtics as a team, I think it's helping them so that when he does come back, the expectations that we have will fall a lot better in line with what you now see, what this team is capable of showing you, than the dependency of having Jason Tatum had he been prior to, his injury.
Omar, before you jump in, I wanted to say this one thing, because what made me say what I said was watching All-Star Weekend, and that NBC has been doing a documentary on his comeback.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that yet.
Okay. Yeah. Like, okay. All right. Like, you know what I mean? Like they've been diametrically opposed in a lot of ways, Tatum and Brown. They've been pitted against each other, and they both are fighting and swimming upstream when it comes to that level of respect and notoriety. And then Tatum off the championship, and then the Olympic thing with Steve Kerr. Like there's just been a lot of like slights and digs at them as individuals that kind of keep the proverbial chip on their shoulder at all times. That might also cloud their judgment as they're trying to get rid of that chip, you know what I mean, to kind of prove themselves. And I just don't think this is the methodology that needs to be done for Tatum, especially as an NBA champion now. But I think cooler heads are not going to prevail, especially when I saw that, there's a doc coming out on this whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't see the doc, but I completely agree.
Yeah.
Do I think Tatum should come back for health reasons? No, obviously no one should come back early from any sort of catastrophic injury, such as an Achilles, ACL, or other things.
Hey Shaw, does this remind you of another scenario similar? The numbers may not match up to it, but it does kind of remind you of what happened with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson when Klay Thompson was on his ascension, and Steph Curry was suffering the ankle injuries and stuff, and Klay Thompson basically had to take leadership of the team, for an extended period of time. It's just like it just feels like it's such a struggle with two great players that they just can't have their own lane of greatness, without having to usurp another person if they're playing on the same team. It feels like, I know we don't do that, right? The real heads, we don't do that, but the fans choose to put them in that kind of space at times, which is, it sucks because we're talking about it because of someone's injury. And now that we have an opportunity to see how great a player truly is because he doesn't have those other elements that may have quieted down or tempered it down, it's like we're saying, okay, when he comes back, right, like everything should be all good or there'll be this great team. And no, that's not always guaranteed. Like just because Tatum comes back here doesn't mean that he's going to instantly make the Celtics an even better team. Yes, he'll make them better, right? Of course, like who he is and what he is. But that doesn't mean that the chemistry will be as the same. It doesn't mean that like the flow of how this team operates and how how Mazzulla works with the roster is going to feel the same. All of that. And you're talking about trying to do that with like 20 games left in the season before playoffs. Like I don't see where that makes any kind of sense.
It's like we said on the show, right? I think with JT, it's not just, hey, he's a great scorer and playmaker. It's also he's been a good defender. And I'm concerned about his ability to defend at that level, kind of coming back, or the strain he's going to put on himself to try to make the Celtics an elite level contender, right? That's why it just doesn't seem like it's ultimately worth it. But I think you're bringing up great points there. And Klay never got to run a whole season by himself, like in the way that Jalen has. Like he's never had that level of stretch where Klay got to do that. And I said, Klay could be a number one. He never got to do it, right? Jalen Brown is doing that right now, and I think to Tatum's credit, he did. At least it was reported that he said, like, I'm trying to think about, do I come back and do I mess up the chemistry if I do? But I think he's probably saying, you know what, I'll find a way to figure this out and elevate this team. And that's why I think, again, they're saying March 1st is when we'll probably see JT back. So, watch out for that.
Okay. Well, see, I wouldn't do that early. I would wait till the playoffs were ready for.
All right, I got a question because you guys are you Celtics guys, and actually, Cal, it's interesting that you brought that comparison. I got one that's a little closer to home. Do you think his absence is putting a battery in the back of not only Jaylen Brown, but like the core guys?
Mm-hmm.
Like Kyrie's injury did when they were young. Remember, they were the best team in the league. Kyrie goes down.
Yeah, you're right.
Kyrie goes down. They continued through the playoffs, made this run to the Eastern Conference Finals without him. And that next season, it was kind of like, we don't really need you, bro. And I think that kind of started the dissension of the locker room per se, with between those guys and Kyrie. You think that, and not to say that it'll cause friction, but you just think the core guys just getting that battery in their back, like,
I think it's a lesson well learned.
JT.
I think the JT and JB have really done a great job.
Yeah.
I honestly am saying this. I'm not trying to manufacture, hype or drama or nothing. But they really have done a great job of tempering down where the media has this tendency to try to create that division between them. You know what I'm saying? Of giving oxygen to the idea that they can't play with each other, right? And I'm not even talking about before them winning the championship. I'm talking about even after them winning the championship. Like I brought up before about Jaylen Brown getting that Supermax extension. I understand that he was here first. But listen, the Celtics could have dog walked that whole situation as well too, which in essence could have been dissing Jaylen Brown at the expense of JT. So I know that JT had to be on board with, hey, you do whatever you got to do for us to keep this team together, which is exactly what Brad Stevens had done with, with laying out what he's done as far as laying out the kind of contracts and everything like that. So that tells me that their relationship is good. And I think to your point, Bobby, that is that's an extension of learning the experiences they dealt with what happened to Kyrie Irving during their early part of their career.
You're muted, Omar.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Since I am too quick on the draw, I went straight to JT because I was so excited about your answers, and now I'm not anymore because you all said no. So I'm just gonna say, bring him back Willis Reed style. Maybe second round of the playoffs, start working him in a little bit, but play him 20, 15 minutes a game here and there, see what he can do. But no, I know the pertinent way to do it is to let him rest and let him fully recover. I obviously don't want to see what could be, one of the best players. He already is one of the best players of Celtics, but one of the greatest ever.
He can borrow Paul Pierce's wheelchair.
You know what? If you ever besmirch the great name of Paul Anthony Pierce, I will come through this screen. What the? All right, I forgot the MVP picks. MVP picks, real quick. Let's get the boys out of here. Who we got? Cal, we'll start with you. Good.
I think it's going to wind up being Jokic. I don't know what the extent of the injury is going to be for Shai Gilgeous, but if he continues to miss extended time and Jokic is, he stays on for the remainder of the year, I think, the numbers that Jokic has put up again is just, it's made them neck and neck. That doesn't mean that Cade and Wembanyama don't have an inside track to it. I think the only way that happens, though, is that the Pistons have to wind up having the best record in the NBA. And he's going to have to put up some phenomenal numbers during that stretch. I don't know what the schedule looks like that would validate that for them. I'd have to look at that. But right now, I just think it's going to wind up being Jokic if SGA doesn't return.
And if, unfortunately, Jokic misses one more game, though, he's not eligible due to the new rules of 65 games since he missed all those games earlier. So,
well, then the idea would be is that Jokic tells him he doesn't care, but the Nuggets are going to need him to be a part of every single one of those games in order for them to hold serve.
And the bigger issue is what if Jokic and SGA were both to get hurt and miss all those games and not hit 65 games? Now you're just eliminating your best players from the awards that they should possibly win because maybe they had an injury for 18 games.
But that just tells you how amazing their season has been because they're doing it in less the amount of time that most of these guys need a whole season for them to put the kind of numbers that they're putting up. Like basically they're saying, I'm putting up these numbers and I can take time off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
I'll come back with 10 games left to let me know whether or not I got to put up them same numbers in order to validate my MVP.
And I mean, Jokic is putting up another triple double. Warren, who you got?
Yeah, I'm so technical. I think the games thing is going to come into play. I really do. So if it wasn't about that, Jokic and SGA are obviously the front runners, but I think they're not going to play enough games. I think this week injury is pretty significant for SGA. Or he might come back and like, hey, I'm available, but not, you know what I mean? Like do one of those just so that he can get the award. But if those things do happen, then I'd say Cade probably has the inside track because he probably will lead his team to the Eastern Conference. Number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and it would just make a lot of sense for him to be there. There's some weird stuff going on, I think, with the Jaylen Brown thing, especially now if Tatum comes back, so then that might detract from him as well, too. So I'm going to go with Cade, assuming SGA and Jokic are not eligible.
And I'm an analyst, so I love that you did that. That's great. But let's say that they are both out. You do look at like a Cunningham or a Wembanyama or even a Brown, players that may be able to lead their team to that number one seed, Bobby G.
I'm going to go with Wemby, man.
Okay.
Just looking ahead at the Spurs schedule, you got 3 matchups potentially against the Joker where he can really put some votes in the bag. You're done with the Thunder. Don't got to see them. And the Spurs have a path to where they can overtake the Thunder for the overall, number one seed and potentially best record in the NBA. I was gonna go between Cade and Wemby, but the Pistons coming out of the break, they have an opportunity to fall back to the rest of the pack. They played the Knicks twice, or played the Cavs twice. I think they played the Knicks twice. So they got some tough games like within the next couple of weeks where they can fall back down to earth. So I think Cade will slip. And I agree. I agree 100%. I think the games play thing will come into play.
I'll play devil's advocate though, Bobby. That could actually elevate Cade Cunningham's opportunity to win the MVP if he has great performances against those teams. So
it could. If they don't win those games, they
to your
win.
point, if they take L's, right, and they fall back to the pack,
Yeah.
then that there's definitely it's hard not to then give it to Wembanyama because of
True.
Yeah, again, the game eligibility thing is really going to mess things up year in and year out with injuries happening so often in the NBA. So if SGA is able to play the requisite amount of games, which I don't know if he will or not, like I don't know the extended injury like Warren said, but if he is, I'll pick SGA to go back to back. But I'm with Warren. I just don't see. I mean, if Jokic is already on that bubble, I don't see how he can play every game the rest of the year. I mean, he could. But, I mean, not if you're injured and you want to be healthy for the playoffs. It's just not pertinent. I'm going to go, Wembanyama. I'm going to go Wembanyama as well. I'm going to say that somehow the Spurs come back and get the number 1 seed in the West, and Wembanyama takes his first MVP. I like that, Bubby. That's good.
Yeah, and Wemby can only miss 3 more games before he
shit. Okay, never mind. I take that back. Scratch that. Wemby's out. I am going with Jaylen Brown, baby. Hasn't missed a game all year. Number 1 player on the best team in the world. Your 18-time NBA champion.
Wemby's such a great pick, though. I would talk with you too, but he's played 40 games. They have 28 left, so he's got to play 25 more games.
Yes,
So remember, he hasn't missed a game since he's been on this minutes restriction. He's only been playing like 20 minutes a game, and that's probably even more impressive.
Tells me you need a minute restrictions for a reason, which means that you're injured.
Yeah, but he's putting up freaking. What did he do? Like,
I mean, look, he's an alien. No one's going to argue the numbers. This man is like something I've never seen before, and this stream was like something I've never seen before. We really appreciate everybody tuning in on millions.co. Again, shout out to them for hosting us tonight. If you are an interviewer, content creator, athlete, and you want to do more interviews, get more content for your social media, for your brand, for your marketing, make sure you join millions.co. It is free to join. You can make money and you get a lot of good networking and exposure. I can vouch for that personally. At Ball and Buds on Millions, at Ball and Buds on YouTube. Make sure you please subscribe, hit that like button, whether watching now or on the replay. It helps out everybody here in the algorithm. All those channels get boosted up for every like. So I see we got about 30 some odd people still left for the stream. I need everybody to hit that like button right now. Hit that like, hit that love if you can. If you're driving, don't worry about it. And let's go ahead and sign out and get everybody's socials. Bobby G, tell them where they can find you.
At Audible_Bobby G, IG and X, and of course, Game Time 216 on YouTube, also Audible Sports Podcast on YouTube.
All right, Warren. I hope your significant other feels much better, my friend.
Appreciate you. Appreciate that love, fellas. Yeah, for sure. You can follow me at The Warren Shaw on Instagram and X, and obviously following the great Baseline NBA podcast with my guy here, Cal Lee, NBA_Baseline on Instagram, or just follow 19 Media Group. We can find all of our content on our platform.
And there you go. I'll put it up there for everybody. Those are your YouTube as Audible Podcast, NBA Baseline on IG, Unfair Sports everywhere. Cal, any extra things you got there?
No, man. Just again, just great to be on board with you guys. And as always, man, check out Ball and Buds. Check out my man Bobby G. Check out the 19 Media Group. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, it's in the podcasting space, man, has got something to provide to elevate the mind, you know what I'm saying, especially for Black History Month. Shout out, to all of the, the trailblazers, the history makers. I know recently we just lost Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yep.
But, again, the things that he did and the things that his, mentors and the predecessors have done have given us an opportunity for us to have this kind of space. And so I just want to make sure I give a proper shout outs, to the trailblazers and those that are out there continuing to speak truth to power and continuing to help educate us to make sure that we're in a good space of knowing our history so that we can move forward to the future.
Man, how poignant, how well said. Thank you so much for that, Cal. I did a tribute to Jesse Jackson on my show earlier. Never give up, never surrender. Rise up against the odds, he told us, and for good reason. Because a lot of people out here aren't just gifted life. Not everybody's just handed silver spoons. A lot of things we got to work through. A lot of discrepancies and minorities especially have to deal with a lot of different things in the world. I'm not going to go through all of them, but obviously you know what they are. So shout out to everybody working that good work and causing that good trouble, as John Lewis would say. May he rest in peace as well. Shout out to my brothers here. I appreciate it so much. We will have them back here in a few weeks. We're going to do another NBA show. I will also be doing a March Madness show before then. So look forward to everybody. Make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. Until next time, holla. 5,000.
He's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let them know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Oh, shit.